Good evening and welcome to December 10th, 2015 Planning Board meeting. This is a workshop, as I think we all know, and we have some zoning orders to go over, but we also have other business to go over, and we have some people in the audience, I believe, for the other business. Per RSA, I don't remember which one it is now. I might have it here in front of me, I might not. No, I do, but
yeah, it's in the first one.
basically, we have a subdivision that was approved. One lot was approved prior to zoning ordinances. Two more lots were approved in subsequent phases of the same subdivision. These subdivisions created 3 lots with no frontage on a road. There's a 25-foot proposed easement, I think it says in the plan. So we have, I don't remember the name, people's name now, sorry.
Walton.
Walton? I assumed that was you. Want to get a building permit, however, they don't have any frontage on any road, whether it's private, public, whatever.
Those bona fide gift lots that
Yes.
comes to allow?
Yes. So, per Mr. Drescher, they have to go to the selectmen. I believe it's to make a private road,
Yes.
and
Well,
these-
what has to happen is anything on either a private road or a Class 6 road has to be approved by the selectmen.
Right.
The two parties here that are involved in tonight's question and answer period have both gone to the selectmen, and the select board has referred them to the planning board to establish standards for the particular roads.
Well, legal, by RSA, they're allowed to send it to the planning board for review and
for
comment.
Review and comment.
Whether the selectmen would listen to our comments or not is up to them.
And what is happening with the Waltons, they need to create a private road up off of Maplewald. The road is actually in, it's been in, technically, you could classify it as anything from a goat path to a Class 5 highway. The major portion of it is in really good shape, but anyway, it needs to be officially anointed as a private road. Let them pick a name.
Yeah, is there a map or something that you could see?
No. So,
Does it exist on the tax maps
As a dotted line.
as a dotted line? Okay.
yes.
And there are no applications for them to fill out, so, this is groundbreaking, what do you want to do?
So there'll be 3 houses on this?
There could be 3 houses. At this time, they're proposing 1, but there could be 3 houses on the one off Maplewald
Yeah, there are 4 lots, one sits on Maplewald.
with an existing driveway off.
However, the driveway coming off of Maplewald is the driveway that serves the house that has road frontage on Maplewald. The other 3 subsequent lots use the same driveway.
So they all have the same easement across that lot type of thing?
Yeah,
Yes,
And how wide is the easement?
25 feet.
25 feet.
Why not 50 feet?
Because
That's
in
the way it was
86 or whatever
granted.
it was deeded as 25 feet.
It was one of those,
Bona fide gift lots. or something.
yeah, it was a bona fide gift lot that you only needed 25 feet to get into, and you didn't need any frontage. If they had built back in 98, they would have been fine. So what has to happen now is they have to create a road. You guys have to tell them what you want to see for a road. They take it back to the selectmen bless it, then they go to the zoning board for a variance.
How much frontage is there on the house lot that's on Maplewald?
178 or
Yeah,
187,
not
something like that.
enough. Not enough. No more driveways coming across it. They need to create a road. Before we reinvent the wheel has gone this far. And it needs to just get the last spoke put in it, and they're in a house.
Does the fire department still do that?
I was going to say,
Presumption of liability or whatever they make?
yes,
There's a waiver that goes
I got
with
handouts
this.
for you guys. It's that's that nice warm stack that I had laying over here. But,
As their road,
I
and
just
you'll
don't
get
wanna read
into
them all
this
right now.
when they explain it to
we can read
you,
them
what's going
the
on.
next 2 weeks.
The fire
week, whatever it is.
department, the road agent, and I have all been up there and looked at the road. 95% of the road is perfect.
Was it a gravel road?
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
think
it's a
I-
good gravel road. Fire department really doesn't have a problem with it.
I think to make a recommendation, we need to go look at it. At least I'm going to go look at it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I haven't at this point.
Shouldn't we have some sort of a plaque that shows this, that gets filed?
I would, I think something should be,
In order to make a road, you've gotta have a road plat.
But it's not gonna be a public road.
No, it's gonna be a private road.
Do we have the authority to approve private roads?
The
we have
selectmen-
the authority to make a recommendation to the
The
planning
selectmen
board.
The
have the authority.
selectmen want your recommendation.
Do the selectmen have the authority to
Yes.
approve?
Per Mr. Drescher, yes.
Yes.
Which is this lovely 13, 14, 16, whatever page thing it is. Nothing simple, of course.
It's not on the same scale, but Collins Landing is simply a private road.
Correct. Well, nowhere near the same scale, obviously.
Right.
Right. But we still need to get, talk to fire and,
Yeah.
Are there any issues?
fire and,
Any issues of grade?
Tim Dredman.
There
Maybe.
Maybe at the very beginning. Once you get past, once actually you get past the first house, where the driveway comes off of the driveway to go to the first house. Once you get past that, the road's perfect. All the way to the end.
And how large are the back lots?
5 acres, I believe.
So there's one, is the front lot a 5-acre lot? The one that has frontage?
10.
Yeah, it's bigger. I don't remember how big it is, but it's bigger.
10-3. 10-3 on the front one, 8-2 on the next one, 119-3. 119-2 is 8.09, and 119-1 is 5.0.
Like stack right behind.
Either way, we've got to come up with some idea of what,
Yeah.
We want-
We're reinventing the wheel again.
yes, we are reinventing the wheel again. It doesn't really matter how many acres the lot is, if it's 0.5 or it's 50. They got a 25-foot access easement, they need a private road.
The lot line.
What lot number are you guys gonna build on? .2 or .1?
One.
.1, okay, so that's what I thought, so they won't go. So, and which one, your sister owns one, correct?
See something large?
She owns the one with the frontage,
Okay,
and the back,
And the back.
and the back lot left, 8-acre one, I believe.
okay,
That abuts her.
yeah, where it makes the, where it makes the loop to come down to,
My tablet.
where it comes down to.
No, we're getting into minutia we don't need to get into
Yeah,
tonight.
what you need to do is go look at it.
Yeah.
This is a total waste of time.
Let's back up a little bit, because it doesn't really matter if the lot's a half acre, if it's 5,000 acres. They got a 25-foot access. So it's up to the selectmen to determine, or it's up to us to make a recommendation to the selectmen.
Well, then we need to look at it.
So I think we need a survey plan of what's there, showing where the easement lies, meets and bounds, and just a topographical, are there culverts,
When they did those
something to show the grade.
modified gift lots, did they do any kind of a plan when they did those?
No.
A subdivision plan, just no road, no topographic plan. I mean, there is a survey plan of the,
Are you
Subdivision.
folks the owners, or are you planning
Yes,
to
we
buy
are.
it?
We've owned it since 2007. Yeah, and we have had it surveyed, so we've got topo and stuff, and we've got plot plans of being
Yeah.
We can
Of all,
provide them.
of all of the lots, or just yours?
Of just ours.
They're all ready to go. All they need is for you guys to tell them what you want to see for the road.
We were told to put in a 25-foot driveway or a road, depending on which way we want to talk about, and we did that, plus 3 turnarounds, because the fire department wanted to look at it, and they did. Everything looks good. Everything, we've got poles in there, power poles going all the way back. One time we had certified stamped septic design is in the ground for you people, so,
There's a septic system on the lot?
it's already in the ground, and
Yep.
it's stamped approved.
You need to go look.
Yeah, we invite you to go look.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
big, easily accessible lots. Yeah.
Since this is one of a number, don't we need to see how the road would be plotted out for all 4 lots?
we gotta make the road the whole way. We aren't gonna make a
Right,
road
and
just for them, we're gonna make a
We need to
road
check
for
the
everybody.
grades and-
Yes,
and
that's
all
what I'm
that.
saying, I think we need a survey plan showing the topographic features and
Showing the new driveway, or whatever,
When they,
showing the existing conditions today and whatever they're proposing,
right.
yes.
when you surveyed your lot, you did the topo map, did they topo down the driveway at all, or just your lot?
They checked all the angles, most of the angles in the shots. It's long, so they did shoot to make sure it complied with that 25-foot wide easement that was on record. We've got copies of it.
We would
I'd be
also-
happy to-
I think we also need copies of the deeds and easements.
Yep. That's not it.
Oh, well, it's in that pile.
No, that's the exhibits that aren't in this pile. Right? Are the exhibits here?
They do have.
We do have all
They
that.
do have an existing driveway maintenance agreement, but we have a new one to go with this.
What about any wetland issues?
No.
Does the road agent have any problems with the driveway connecting to
No.
Maplewold?
No one,
Yes.
well,
Is-
yeah,
Minor.
the drainage.
We got a little minor drainage
The
question.
only
but
problem is the selectmen need wisdom from the planning board.
I think we need to go see it before we can give anybody any wisdom. Really, I think we should schedule a site walk. Hopefully you can get us the plans.
Whole property for what?
No, nothing personal, but that's okay.
Happy to provide you with the plans and what we have. Copies.
Could you get them to us in a week?
Less than that.
Yeah.
Would you like us to run them up tomorrow?
I don't care. I'm not gonna look at them until next week. No, kidding. What's a good time for a site walk?
That could be obviously during the day.
Well, ish.
No. Really?
Yeah. Well, the sun is up, so for me, I would only be available sun up on a Saturday.
Ditto.
We talking about the day after tomorrow?
Or no, a Saturday.
A Saturday, then it'd be.
I think we're talking about the day after tomorrow.
We will have one more meeting in December, right?
Yes, next week.
And not to rain on anyone's parade, but there is a slim chance that this may be covered with snow before too many more Saturdays go by.
It's not gonna snow this year. This is the year, everybody's gonna talk about this year forever.
Now, you know.
Winter of 15-16, there's no snow. Everybody's gonna talk about it forever, I'm telling you.
No more snow in 2015. 2016, that's.
No, the whole winter I'm talking about.
The whole season.
Yep. Ski area's all gonna shut down.
What time are you going up there?
What time you gonna do it?
Saturday afternoon.
You're gonna come refill my well then?
Nope.
You have a dog well? Let's see. What's going on Saturday?
Yes, there is.
Oh, at 10 o'clock, Chris Christie is going to be in the middle school. And there'll be a lot of traffic, not that that will make a difference, but some of us might want to go, so.
He knows how to control traffic.
You wanna invite him to our site walk?
Oh, that was low.
And don't go.
I'm a Jersey boy. I know exactly what he did.
How about 1 o'clock Saturday?
While we schedule this, can we also?
Yeah, I was gonna say, keep in mind, there's gonna be a second one coming up real shortly, I think so. That
Yeah,
means
so
like,
if
right
possible,
after this discussion, there's gonna be a second discussion, very similar to this, we're gonna wanna do another site walk.
On the same lot?
No.
It's up on Worthley, but I've got a
Yes.
bunch of stuff for you tonight, but if we can do a walk up there Saturday, that'd be great too.
After 1 o'clock?
Whenever's good for you guys.
Okay.
John, are you up at 1?
In the morning?
Too bad.
No. You said when the sun was up, so I assume that's in the afternoon.
I would hope so.
Just go along the drive.
Yeah,
1 o'clock.
the people in that.
He wants morning.
I want 8:30 in the morning.
I'd prefer in the morning, yeah.
From 10 to whenever, I don't know.
I won't be there after work.
Is that by, invoice?
All day?
No, he's
So
just,
one.
anybody. There's a public notice in front of the town hall,
Okay.
Let him go by himself.
candidate kind of
I
thing.
can do that though, that's fine. Just don't hit the red tile.
And remember, if you do it at a time that I can't go, somebody else has to take the minutes.
That would be John,
No.
he's a rookie now.
Well, actually, he's technically the rookie.
Well, yeah, but I get to appoint the person to do it, right?
Yes, you do.
I just did. So if Neil's not here, it's John.
If I show up.
That's true.
I'm just an alternate, remember?
But if Neil's not here, you can be a voting member, and then you can take the minutes.
Does the road just go to your lot, or does it keep going?
It keeps going.
Well, there's gonna be 3 lots.
45-degree angle,
I understand that.
90-degree angle,
Goes up to our lot.
Yeah,
and it ends at our lot, but it's adjacent to the other.
Splits off to our lot, splits off to the left and goes to the other one.
Are there houses, the question is, are there houses beyond your lot?
No.
Will there be any lots beyond, you're the last lot
We're
of
not the
before.
owners of
No.
the last 2 lots, but my sister owns one, and she uses it for grazing her sheep. She has a working farm.
We would need
The other
permission
one
from
is
those
used
landowners, yes.
only for camping. The owner
It's their easement.
camps on it every summer and lives there every summer camping.
so the road goes all the way up the, right to that last lot?
Absolutely.
Oh, it does, okay.
Yes.
There's the potential for 3 houses.
And
Sooner or later.
Brown did the work on it.
for all of your edifications, after you go and look at this, they have driveway agreements, they have plot plans, they have surveys, they have every piece of paper that you could ever want,
I'll think of something.
except for the ones that come in a
I'm
roll.
gonna try to run up there tomorrow.
Would 8 o'clock Saturday work?
Be okay if I went up tomorrow?
Sure, do you want, us
Want us to
to
go
be
up
there
with
or
you?
be there?
No, I mean,
I'm retired.
Okay.
You just name a time, I can be
well,
there.
I talk about being retired, but
I am retired.
I would like to just be able to tell my sister who owns the frontage property, because she has livestock.
Yeah.
And if she's moving sheep or horses, she'd wanna know if
yeah,
vehicles are going.
I was trying to get out of this Sandy deal, but
Is this on the curve? Right next
Just
to Dottie
past the
O'Neill's
tower.
house?
Yes, it used to be O'Neill, right near O'Neill, next to O'Neill.
I may have to recuse myself, I'm in a butter,
You may have to.
yes.
I
that's
knew,
up by the road to the
I
tower.
knew that.
Yes.
I did not know that.
No, that's not the road to the tower.
No, I didn't buy it.
It's just past the road to the tower.
Right, we can see the,
So there's a road to the tower, the next road is the road you're talking about?
It depends on where you're going. If you're coming from 114,
Yep,
it's past the tower.
yep.
If you go down that hill, it takes a sharp left at the bottom. If instead of taking that sharp left, you took a right, you'd be on their driveway.
So does 8 o'clock work, except for Neil and you?
8
Bruce?
o'clock.
8 o'clock,
Saturday morning?
yes. Do it at 1 o'clock, it's gonna ruin the whole day.
Can you pick me up?
The day's a shot. It doesn't take much to ruin the whole day.
we're at 10 o'clock.
I know.
Is Bruce allowed out if I promise to get him home by 9:30, 9:45?
Not going anyway?
I'll go. But we've got another one after it.
That's why I went for 8, that gives us almost an hour for each.
It's only a 10-minute
Yeah.
ride from where you're gonna be.
Yeah, it's not gonna be far apart.
You know, it's just off of Colby.
All right, then we'll put ours off.
Okay,
And I'm making next to my
8 AM Saturday, day after tomorrow.
And I will post site walks at both sites for Saturday morning.
How long, when do you expect to be at the Worthy Road property?
I would hope an hour before, or
So
hour
like
after.
9?
Yeah.
Because I could be there.
It shouldn't take long, I would hope.
Okay.
There.
Yeah, they're first, they bring,
They're first,
can you get us text maps or something to give us directions? I have no idea where I'm going.
No problem.
Okay.
Isn't there a second house already there? The sheep house is on, you can see that from the road. Isn't there something beyond that?
There's a
Already built?
barn up there.
There's a barn,
No, a house. There's no second house.
It's just before Durgan's.
No, theirs, not Durgan, not
Oh,
that one.
theirs, yeah,
Yes.
no problem.
I know where the other one is, roughly. I can find it anyway.
Turn your cell phone on, and when the signal goes up, you're there.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna close your part. We'll see you Saturday morning. Well, maybe you're there, maybe not.
We'll have paperwork for you there then, if that will have to find, we'll bring you the map.
It'd be awesome if you could, yes.
We'll be happy to do
we'll have
that.
everything
Okay.
ready for you.
Thank you for hearing
All
us,
right,
gentlemen.
thank you.
And definitely,
Have a good
if you don't give them everything that they want, whatever you've got, make copies of,
We'll
and
do that.
for both of you guys, bring it in and make sure it's in my office by,
I was actually gonna give
Monday.
you each something tonight, just so you have it.
That's
We'll
great,
start
too.
Looking at it.
You want the copies tomorrow or wait until Saturday?
You can wait till
You
Saturday.
wait, you can
wait
wait
till Saturday,
yeah.
because I won't see them tomorrow.
Thank you.
We hope you don't see us tomorrow, yes. Okay, we have a very similar situation, not quite the same, on Worthley, which is a Class 6 road, which I believe he has an interest in building a house on, so therefore the selectmen have to give permission to upgrade a Class 6, not upgrade, that's the wrong word, to use a Class 6 road.
Where they off of Colby?
Yes,
The entire road's not class 6, is it?
No,
No.
No.
paved.
It's actually Worthy.
didn't I say Worthley?
I heard Colby over here.
Off of Colby.
Off of Colby.
Yeah, Colby.
So they're gonna give permission to use a portion of the Class 6 road. Since the town owns the road, they gotta get selectmen permission to use that part of the Class 6 road. So again, the selectmen asked us for review and comment.
And
In-
in our, not to interrupt, but in our case, we have got a variance from the zoning board to build on the Class 6 road, and that's part of what I'm gonna give you in this packet.
Great.
So we have the variance. The issue on ours really is getting your recommendations back to the Board of Selectmen on the standard for the road. So in this packet that I'm gonna give you, I have an engineer's plan that shows the layout of the road, the width of the travel way, the snow storage area that Tim Redmond wants because they dead-end snow up there during the winter.
Yep.
And I've got engineering specifications on the gravel base. Tim Redmond also wants to do a test pit where the road transitions, because if the engineer says it's gotta be 6 to 8 inches, but there's 9 inches of gravel under the pavement, he wants to match up what's there, which we're okay with that.
Okay.
But in this packet, I've got a layout of the width of the road, how it's gonna pitch at the beginning of it.
Why don't you just give our packet and explain it while we're looking at it?
Okay.
That'll make-
And while you gentlemen are thinking about this, there's another one lurking in the wings
We'll
on,
worry about that one later.
Horse Spring Hills Road.
We're making a precedent here.
Really?
We aren't gonna go there yet.
Oh, yeah, you're setting precedent, and these things are backing up like airplanes at LaGuardia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, could you please state your name for
Yeah,
Tina?
Mark, Attorney Mark Pinard. I'm the attorney for the landowner, which is Worthley LLC. So the cover letter simply describes what I've included in the packet. First item is my authority to speak on behalf of the owner. Second is a copy of the variance, which the third condition talks about building the building it to driveway standards. That's where you guys come in. Fourth item is the engineering standards that have been determined for the gravel base. The next is a photograph showing how the road is going to be set off to the left-hand side, because Tim Redmond wants to have snow storage on the right-hand side of that. And then the last item is the plan, which I'll...
Is there a detail map showing where this place is located?
I can show you that separately.
If anyone wants to look at a map, here's the whole thing. And I think it's probably on that side.
Yeah, I've got one that highlights it a bit.
Where's Worthley Road?
Oh, Colby.
I got Colby. How far?
Towards the River Ave roadside.
Right at the top of the
Close
north.
to north.
I got Durgan.
Just
I
before
got it.
Durgan.
Yep. And where is the property on Worthley?
The property is it's at the end of Worthley, where the Class 5 transitions to Class 6.
Could you show that to us?
Yeah. So, let me show you on mine.
Yeah, Hillcrest, the end of that little Hillcrest Drive, the end of Worthy is like right there. So I think you wanna extend, essentially look to this bend, right?
It's
Yeah,
about
at the
400 feet
Yeah.
to the bend.
So, this is, let me just get my bearings here. This is Colby right here, okay? This one cutting across is Colby. Wordley, you take a left off of Colby as you're heading toward River Road. And then you come up to the end of the pavement.
Which is where? the end of the pavement is right here,
And Hillcrest goes off to the right, prior to that.
before that.
Yes.
Yep. And then about 400, so you got about 400 feet of area on the Class 6 before the boundary for the property. This 37-acre piece right here is the property that we want to get to.
Is that being sold as a single piece?
It's going to be sold as a single piece. It's going to be one single-family home. That's-
Restricted?
Yeah, and that's how we apply to the planning board, to the zoning board.
So, in effect, you want to convert, you don't want to bring Worthley Road up to Class 5 until it hits your property.
No, they
You want
don't,
to use that as a driveway.
No, we don't.
they don't want to upgrade any of it, they want to use it as a driveway. They
Right,
don't
so
want
the
to, they don't want to make a
variance-
class 5.
The variance is to utilize, is to build on the Class 6, and we are not bringing it up to road standards, we're simply gonna bring it to driveway standards to get up to that boundary line, which is right down here.
Are there any other houses, on the other lots abutting Worthley, are there any other houses
There's a house on each side of Wordley
where it's paved?
where the Class 6 ends. So as you get to the end of that paved area, there's a house on the right, house on the left.
Look at all these lots here.
Those are on guys doing.
None of these are using Worthley.
Correct.
Other access.
That's right.
And is there anything further up that would use Worthley?
No.
Comes out on Bonnet Hill Road, right? With it?
Yeah, there are houses on the Barnard Hill end.
Yeah.
What would happen if at some time in the future the selectmen wanted to make Worthley a Class 5 road?
They'd have to bring it up to Class 5
The
standards.
selectmen,
No,
can-
but-
the selectmen can just do it.
Does the fact that there's, assuming this is approved, a driveway on that road, does that complicate something?
No.
Well, except for keeping access open, no. During the construction. any
Legally,
reconstruction.
the driveway will not start until he exits the Class 6 road.
No.
No, it's a town road. You can't
Yeah,
use a
but
town
he's,
road
he's
as your
gonna maintain,
private
he's gonna
driveway.
maintain it as a driveway.
Yeah, he's gonna maintain
Which
it as
is
a
Right.
driveway.
One of
It's
the-
still gonna be a class 6 road.
But if somebody gets a
obviously.
variance to build in the next house,
Correct.
who then improves the road all the way?
That's the question.
And there are also some other questions that I have regarding the variance, but I did not go on administrative appeal, so I won't say anything.
I don't, it looks as though the request is to take public property and use it for private purposes.
Yes, which they cannot do.
That's
So
what he's proposing.
So
That's why they need to go to the selectmen.
that's why they need to go to the selectmen. And
They
the
gotta
How can the
selectmen,
selectmen give it away?
They're not giving anything away, they're letting him use their town property. They're not giving the rights away. It's still a class 6 road.
it's still a Class 6
They
road.
won't own it. They'll
No
just
matter
be
what
using it.
happens to it, it's still a Class 6 road. The
So-
question is, what standard do you wish to use to upgrade the Class 6 road to get to his driveway?
So why shouldn't the selectmen say, you've gotta bring it up to Class 5?
Well,
Partly,
that's
part-
There was
partly
discussion
because,
about that, but it came before this board.
Yeah, the zoning from my point of
partly
view.
because the zoning board said they got now they have a variance to build on a class 6 road.
Right, we've got
So
the,
that's different from what the road should be.
Yep.
He's got a variance to build, now he's gotta
Yep.
get there.
Yep,
right, and the zoning, the variance.
says driveway standard.
Driveway standard. So we've got a variance from the zoning prohibition. We can now build on the Class 6 road.
Correct.
Condition of the variance is 3 things. We gotta post a sign that it's a Class 6 road at the entrance of it. We've got a recorded deed saying that it's not a town-maintained road. And then the third condition that's in your packet in the variance is that we gotta build it to a driveway standard. So we're not intending to take it as ownership. We simply are gonna use it, it's gonna continue to be a public road, but we have to increase the standard of it.
What happens if the town decides to close it subject to gates and bars?
That's what class 6 is.
Hmm?
Class 6 is.
No, it's not closed subject to
Class
gates and
6
bars.
is,
Yeah.
class 6 is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, we decide to discontinue it.
then everybody's gonna own half it, and
He doesn't own any of it.
let me finish. Technically, you'd give half it away, and everybody that uses it still has rights to use it.
Run that by me again. The first
If
part I understand.
if I have used that road to walk my dog to the other side for years, I still have the right to walk my dog down that little piece of property, even though everybody else owns it. Because I have used it as a public way.
It becomes a trail, I believe, is the
No.
definition. I thought it goes from.
You may be right, but I have a very different understanding. When it's closed or discontinued,
The public's rights are gone.
the public's rights are gone, including your right to walk your
No.
dog.
No.
That's the whole point.
Not
of
if
discontinuing.
it was used historically.
This sounds
The
more like
historic,
English
yes.
medieval law.
Very good. Where do you think all this came from?
And I
It's a-
think you end up with a taking at that point. So that's where the Superior Court would come in and say whether there's a taking or not.
Why is there a taking?
Because there's land up at that end of the up at the end of the road that can no longer be used. So you're taking the ability for the landowners to use their property.
That's their own frontage.
Yeah, you're talking about if the road is discontinued.
That's right.
Yeah, if the road's, he still has rights to use it, obviously.
Right.
I mean, that's his access. You can't take it, the town, by discontinuing the town portion of the town road, he still has rights to use the path, for lack of a better term,
So again, you need to go look at the road.
basically, yes.
The selectmen have asked you to do that.
Since they got a variance, I'm confused why the selectmen are even
Because the
involved.
selectmen have to give approval to upgrade, to work in the class.
The
Six
zone,
road.
it's a town road, the zoning board can't give you a variance from anything on a town road.
That's what I said.
So how can the zoning board give him,
The zoning board can give him a variance to build on a class 6 road. However, he needs selectmen approval to work in
And
the town
someone-
road.
they don't have the authority to do.
No,
everything
they do
that
not
did.
have the authority to
Right.
do what they
Right.
did.
Yes.
However, it was never appealed. So
The
that's,
fact that they did it, I mean, if they violate the law.
Well,
I don't
actually,
see how
actually,
Right,
Bill
and
Bill
again,
Drescher,
that's
Bill
where you
Drescher
end
said
up
it didn't matter which
ultimately,
came first.
if we don't work this out, that ultimately gets us before a judge who's gonna determine what their ability was and what our rights are, and hopefully it doesn't end up
And
there.
Jack's logic was, when he did this, was that our driveway standard is similar to or better than
Class five.
the quality of the Class 6 road. The only difference between our driveway standard and pretty much Class 5 is the width.
No, that's not.
How wide
no.
is this going to be?
Class 5 dirt road,
The driveway?
Yeah, no, so
The,
there's no driveway and a class 5 road are
We've
completely
got it
different.
The only difference
on the
is the
plan
width.
Oh,
as
no.
20
But
feet
The
wide,
radius, the
the way
curve.
this thing
the
is
fire
written,
base.
department,
all
20
these
feet
guys
of
wanna
gravel,
do is
20
take
feet
a
of gravel,
goddamn bulldozer
plus
and punch a
shoulders.
hole
Yep.
through there.
So
So you gotta go see it, make
the Tim
recommendations.
Redmond and the fire folks want it as wide as what's there. What is there on the paved portion is 20 feet wide. So we're continuing with a 20-foot width. It'll be all gravel, and it'll support the fire truck.
And how long the road is this?
It's about 400 to 420 feet to get to our boundary. So on the plan that I gave you, there is a couple of features to it. Down at the bottom. Down at the bottom, we have a cross-section showing the thickness of the gravel, how much we're gonna be putting down. There's also engineering specifications in written form that support these two cross-sections. And then at the top of the plan is a depiction of the roadway continuing from the paved portion. And the fact that it's offset a little bit to the left, so there's snow area to the right. So when you look at the top piece, you're gonna see how it lays out from the class 5 portion up to the boundary line.
So, since it's a class 6 road, if I decide to take my snowmobile or my ATV on it, I can do so?
Absolutely. We don't own it. We're just
You're just
permitted to bring it up to a driveway standard.
You're not blocking any part of the Class 6 road.
No, as a matter of fact, we're gonna have an obligation to keep it clear for the fire truck to get to the house on the lot.
Okay.
So Tim Redmond wanted us to agree in a maintenance agreement that if the, number one, we'll plow it to a minimum of 16 feet wide. Number two, if the town's snow storage is getting piled up, so it's getting tight in there, we have an obligation to clear that area. So it's our obligation to move and pile up the snow if it's getting tight. And that'll be part of a maintenance agreement.
Do you have copies of the deed that you're going to be giving the prospective buyer?
I have not drafted that yet, but it's going to include the provisions that are in the variance plus anything else you guys reasonably
You
request.
said it was going to be a single house,
Single house,
not subdividable.
never.
Is this land subject to an easement of some sort? Conservation easement or something like that?
And the idea was, it's 37 acres up there. We had the choice of bringing the road up to a class 5 and then doing a subdivision back there, or building this driveway and doing a single family and being done with it. So, you know, that's the trade-off, is by being able to do it this way, we don't end up with a subdivision and having, you know, density and impact issues.
Yeah, you could do the subdivision
We
at
absolutely
some
could.
point in time.
No, he's saying,
No.
No, we're gonna restrict it, so when this is done, that 37 acres is gonna have a single-family home on it into perpetuity.
is there something special about that land? Like an extraordinary view or a big
No.
pond or something?
Not at all,
Is it farmland?
it's just raw land out there. I haven't walked the land, I've gone down the Class 6 road, its topography is fine, there's no big grades, there's no hairpins, and my understanding is it's just vacant land. Nothing special about it.
So when's the sidewalk, 9 o'clock on Saturday?
Yes.
So you're 9 on Worthley and 8 on Maplewall? Is
Yes.
that-
Go to Maplewall, then we'll just go to Worley after that.
I just want to check that one out initially, because all that, as long as that class 6 road.
Yes.
Actually, I was curious to look at all the time, because I had, looked at the map, and owned both of those houses on the end of the road. Years ago.
You're good at, let's see, it's folding like this. There it is.
Any other questions for us?
Nope. I'm gonna take one thing back here. Oh, yeah, that's part of what I gave you.
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't turn the last page, I stopped here.
Does he want this back?
No, that's
I
right.
hope not. He's not
I have one
getting,
for each of you. I've got extras if you think I should leave you more.
do you have one?
Yes.
Do
Okay.
you want, I don't know if you would want extras, but I can leave you a few extras.
You know, you've got enough land there to build another nice big tower. I thought,
You know what?
I'm
Believe
trying
me.
to think of the tax rate.
Believe me, if we can't do something with it this way, we'll do something with it another way.
Yeah, but a nice big tower and lots of commercial development.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Maybe we
You
should
see-
send it before the Economic Development Committee.
Are they still meeting?
We don't have one anymore.
Well, there are no members, but we can
Oh.
appoint them pretty quickly.
And my contact information is on that cover letter.
Yep.
If you have any questions for me, I can give you a business card if you want, but all my info's on that.
You gonna be there Saturday?
Plus, I will be there Saturday. I live on Mountain Road, so you can stop by my place at 7, and I'll make you guys coffee before. And I'm on a bona fide gift lot from 1994.
We don't need to know that. We might kick you
I have a
out.
whole story.
We might kick you out of there.
With a driveway that would never pass standards today.
Yeah, it's probably smoother than Mountain Road.
Yeah, it's better, it is better than that road.
Do you mind if I have a copy before you leave?
Copy of-
Yeah. Before you handed them.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. See you
Saturday at 9.
9 AM.
Yep.
Okay, thank you all. Well, yeah, that should be
See
done
how
to
you
my,
are. All
that should be
right,
done
all
to my place. See you later, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have somebody in the audience here, I see, not related to a planning board member.
Findings.
Didn't lose it, right there. So now we're on to the zoning ordinances, and since we have some member in our audience, I think we should probably talk about Article 2739 and 27311, because that's what I assume he is here for. I thought so. Oh, before I forget, let me hand out my massive piles of stuff that I learned by reading earlier. Take one and pass them down, please. You've got one on the top for you. Take one and pass them down, please.
Are these now public?
That attorney had one, so yes. Everybody's got one, so yes, they're public.
Is 1191 is which?
That's the Maplewald.
Maplewald, thank you.
Actually, the Maplewald people have a copy of this.
Seems like you got a couple more you needed here. Great.
I probably, yeah, should probably made a few extra.
There you go, Neil.
Inquiring minds want to know.
We got two of these?
Yeah, yes.
So, anyway, that's your good reading between now and Saturday or next week, whatever.
This is for part two.
Yes.
This.
Wait a minute, this one is Maple.
This is
Yeah.
Maplewald.
They're both Maple. They're both Maplewald. Really.
One is the road, the driveway agreement that they need to sign.
Mr. Andy, would you like a copy of? You want a copy of that? Trust me. Hot off the press this afternoon. And if you take one of these and pass them down.
Which one are we doing? 26.
27, yes. I assume that's why Andy's here, so he can. Since he was here late last night, I assume he doesn't want to stay late tonight. You always leave me for the middle of your meeting or end of your meeting, but you know.
Andy, did someone at your meeting last night leave a can of pipe cement and Teflon tape? I found a bag on the floor here, and you guys were the only one in here.
I did see it, or the market basket bag,
Yeah.
sitting over there, didn't look at it, I'm not aware of anyone having left at the meeting.
Well, I diffused it in case it was a bomb, and I put it up on top of the thing.
I ignored it, and if it went, I guess you would've.
I usually do too, for just that reason.
So anyway, at previous meetings, Bruce and I were at one at the planning board, or at the Conservation Commission, and we discussed this last time, a month ago maybe. 2739 is about the buffer strip around a open space or a cluster subdivision. And it states in here that the buffer strip can be part of the lot. However, if the buffer strip is part of a lot, it's not counted as open space because it's owned by the lot. But anyway. The Conservation Commission mentioned blazing open space boundaries, so it only made sense to me if we're gonna have a non-disturbance zone that's enforceable by the town, AKA Mr. Chip, that it should also be blazed. So the first part of the first page is the existing ordinance, and I was just gonna make a new or another paragraph in the same ordinance, as in bold, was my proposal. I think we discussed this last time. The only comment was to add New Hampshire in front of the licensed land surveyor per Mr. Chip. I believe that was the only comment.
Why is it required that a licensed land surveyor do this? Why couldn't this be done by the property owner?
Because the property owner is licensed land surveyor is the only one that's supposed to be doing boundary surveys.
This isn't a boundary survey.
You're monumenting a boundary.
Not a property boundary, but it's a use boundary.
Yes.
Can, the point, make modifications to this?
No.
Food thought. Does the entire buffer strip have to be monumented?
No.
The first house to get a CO, or just the buffer strip along that lot?
My intent was that lot. Of course, hopefully the buffer is not gonna be part of lots very often.
This is the one with changes on it.
Isn't that the same as this?
That's what we had at our last meeting, I'm not sure if it's back word for word.
It may not be quite word for word.
Okay, so the buffer strip, if it's, usually it's gonna be a lot line itself, not.
Usually it's gonna be part of the open space or a lot line, yes.
That's a much cleaner arrangement.
Yes,
Yeah,
I certainly think the buffer being part of a lot is not a good idea. However, our ordinance does allow it, so,
So,
Unless we change it.
unless we change it, right. Oh, jeez.
so maybe right here, a buffer strip included within a building lot, maybe we should somehow word this, that if the boundary line is the edge of the buffer strip, that also needs to be blazed prior to the CO?
Well, if the buffer strip is a boundary line and you have the open space lot behind it, that's covered here, in the next page. Because then it is a boundary line.
Yeah,
And I'm saying you have to blaze and monument the boundary line of the open space in the next page. And that wording, this wording is different than what we had last time. I know that. Slightly.
yeah, that's one of the second page, doesn't tie it to a building permit, is it?
No, it's kind of tying it into the subdivision approval. Because the surveyor has to certify on the subdivision plan that the blazing and/or signage has been completed. The reason being, we have, I think you might remember, several subdivisions that the town has where somebody has easements on the open space or ownership of the open space. And the subdivisions are, let's say, not being built very fast. Therefore, the Conservation Commission or whoever's monitoring it has no idea where the property line is. So by making it do it, if they're gonna grant the easement prior to the subdivision plan being recorded, we should might as well make a monument it prior to that also. That way, when we get the deed, the easement, it's monumented.
And it's a little bit why I'm a little leery of the second one. Say a subdivision's 15 years old and someone was to build on it, and for some reason the signs and whatever are hanging in somebody's man cave.
The subdivision plan is certified by a licensed land surveyor that they were put up.
No, I know, but say they've been removed, or whatever.
And that's pretty hard to,
Impossible to police.
I know it's impossible to
Yeah.
police, but.
Who removed it?
No, that's why I'm thinking that as part of the CO, that they be,
I would like to see them done long before I ever give anybody a CO. One less thing for me to deal with. But I do realize I get paid to do that. You can overburden me,
we do feel sorry for you.
I know.
Okay.
increases budget to give some new hiking boots.
So, under 2739, if there's no buffer strip within the building lot, then this doesn't apply?
Correct.
Let's go to, may we go to 11?
Certainly.
Wouldn't every
Does the
lot,
buffer-
excuse me, on your last statement, Wouldn't any lot have a buffer strip?
No.
25-foot buffer?
No.
From the.
That's a building buffer.
That's a building, oh, that's a building buffer.
From the outside perimeter of the
Yeah.
parent parcel,
Yeah,
25 feet.
That's what we're talking about.
No, we're not talking about a building buffer.
Okay.
We're talking about a cluster subdivision buffer.
Okay,
Yes,
And that buffer is 50, let's see, you can't construct a building in 50 feet of non-cluster property. That's what 9 says.
you got 20
And
foot,
in
you
addition,
got a 25-foot setback and a 25-foot buffer, a 50-foot setback, 25-foot buffer.
the 50-foot buffer only applies to boundary lots,
Yes,
exterior type lots. It doesn't apply to
Interior
an
lot.
interior lot.
correct.
So if you've got an interior lot or an exterior lot, but you still have to have, oh, no. The 25-foot native plant, a strip of native plantings,
Is around is only around the exterior of the parent track. So if you have a horseshoe-shaped open space, which seems to be typical, your buffer's in the perimeter.
okay, leaving the, where you can build, this 25-foot buffer strip is along the exterior of the property,
Of the subdivision,
of
yes,
the entire cluster subdivision.
yes.
And right now, there's no requirement that that be marked.
Correct.
And why is it important that it be marked?
So that Chip can see it to enforce it.
Some people have taken those over as lawns.
In effect, their lawn extends to
A lawn
the
of-
boundary of the cluster,
Mm-hmm.
because they own that.
Right,
It's part of their lot,
Right.
Yep.
okay? But technically, that buffer strip is not public property in the sense that people
No.
can walk on it.
no,
So the purpose of this is to make sure, the purpose of the amendment is to make sure that the ordinance is written is a reality, that that 25-foot buffer strip in fact stays a buffer strip of native plantings and is not encroached upon by anyone.
yes.
well, what about the 50-foot buffer? Somebody could build in that, and he still wouldn't know.
Well,
Well, he would know when he gets a plot plan. He should know when he gets a septic design. He's gonna find it somewhere in there.
Certified plot plans are required at the setting of the footings.
And if he sees
Since-
a sign over there that says buffer do not disturb, and he's pretty close to it, he should be able to measure 25 feet to see if he's in it or not.
You're guaranteed there'll be something there.
Well, there'll be yards and everything else in there.
Well, I'm thinking of these little,
Swing sets, sheds,
well, sheds, what, yeah,
probably.
not a problem.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just wondering, why are we marking the 25-foot buffer? Why don't we mark the 50-foot buffer?
Because the 50-foot buffer is a setback, not a buffer. The 50 foot's, you can have yards, you can have a septic system in it.
the 50-foot only applies
I
to
think.
buildings, Chuck. Has nothing to do with
Septic?
Yeah.
a
Can
native
go in the
planting.
buffer. It can go within 10 feet of the property line.
The 27,311, right now, what's the problem with that we need to monument it?
Because the Conservation Commission and other, well, whatever, whoever gets the open space is getting the open space,
Doesn't know where it is.
is receiving it upon approval of the subdivision, correct, and doesn't know where it is. And they have to go out and monitor it to make sure it doesn't get encroached upon and everything else,
Okay.
and they don't know where it is. They end up spending a lot of money hiring surveyors to go out.
Are
To
you
show the
okay with
public.
these two? Is the Conservation Commission okay?
Now he's gonna get into a third one, is what he's gonna get into.
Andy Fulton, I chair the Conservation Commission. The issue that's not addressed on 27,311, and that was our prior recommendation, which we'd like to stick with, to the planning board, is in the fourth line, at the end of the fourth line, to remove the town from the language such that it would read easements, or clustered, open space within a cluster development shall be protected by permanent conservation easements held by a qualified conservation organization. And that's because we're seeing, or we have seen open space with the cluster subdivision created in such a fashion that it's terribly difficult to monitor, to protect that open space in any reasonable fashion because of the layout, lots of fragmented pieces of open space between house lots. You know, where we've spent a lot of money trying to address this is the Brookshire subdivision down on Eleanor Way. And we encourage the planning board to change the language so that somebody building a subdivision would have to generate open space of a nature that would interest a land trust to hold an easement on it.
Well, just now you mentioned Brookshire, that would not solve the problem because the town owns that in fee. And you're still allowed to own it in fee. By the way you're revising this ordinance. Not to play devil's advocate, but personally, I don't think that's gonna happen again, at least not as long as I'm sitting on the board.
Subdivision as an example of how we would like not to see the open space fragmented between, in that case, I think, you know, a number of abutters, is almost everybody in the subdivision, and in between several of the subdivision lot owners, there are strips of open space that are narrow and not easily protected in any fashion. It's very common to have encroachment into that piece of town property, and in that case, whether fee owned or into whoever owns the open space lot if it's not town owned. So the point I was trying to make on that is that if you build a subdivision with open space that's in a central block, it's very easy to interest a conservation organization in holding that easement. If you build it so your open space is around every lot in lollipop shapes, then the conservation organization is gonna say, you're asking me to monitor a boundary with, instead of 3 or 4 abutters, you know, it could be everybody, it could be 12, 14, 15, 20 abutters. Another example is the Duck Pond subdivision up here, where the open space is around the edge, it's swaths down through the middle. That's one where you get into the prior language where bits of supposedly buffer land is on private lots with no idea, even for the purchaser of a lot, to know where that boundary is. So, Neil, the idea is really to encourage in a non-prescriptive way these subdivisions to be built such that the open space is attractive to a conservation organization. If we say the town...
Then you need to get rid of the buffer strips entirely, because they chew up a lot of land.
But the buffer strip counts as open space.
But that's what makes them fragmented.
Right.
I understand that buffer there, my sense of that is that's to sort of protecting the neighbor's interest, you know.
Well, quite a few years ago, I brought that up when somebody else was chairman, to the prior chairman, and he said that every draft ordinance he ever saw for cluster open space, whatever you want to call it, has a buffer shown in the Office of State Planning, actually one of the buffer in the ordinance. Personally, I think the buffer is ridiculous, but
And personally,
that's
I'd agree with you on that.
That's my personal opinion.
And other towns are starting to do away with them because they realize what it does.
What it's doing is forcing the developer to make a horseshoe-shaped open space. Basically, because you're gonna have to leave a buffer around the edge. So what are you gonna do? You're making it, just make the buffer bigger is what you're gonna do.
It's much cleaner
You're trying to force the development in the middle by putting a buffer there.
to have fee ownership over a lot and not put restrictions on it. That's your owned land, and I'm not looking to tell you what to do with it.
This is mine and that's not.
Yeah.
Simple. I think getting rid of the buffer is a totally different conversation though, and I don't think we wanna go there today, or this year.
What's NEAC, is that town-owned, or is that
Which one?
The one you
Duck
just,
pond.
Duck
Duck
Pond.
Pond. Is that town-owned land,
Mostly.
mostly?
Yeah.
I don't
He's already
remember how,
deeded it to
how
the
the
town.
open space parcel
you're
was
stuck with
designated on
these.
that. Oh, we're stuck with some that,
Okay.
that are
Yeah, Duck
very
Pond,
unfriendly.
you
from-
said,
from
you
our
mentioned Brookshire,
perspective.
but Duck Pond is probably the worst, because there's a lot of 200 or 300 foot wide strips along the wetlands that are deeded fee ownership of the town, but then there's an easement over top the abutting lot that's 50 to 60 feet
Couple
wide.
dozen different lots that
Dozen-
theoretically, if
yeah.
it gets built out, we would be required to go in and say, well, you mowed 5 feet across this line, well, there's no line there, but we'd have to survey and establish it, and then say, you know, move your lawn, move your shed, move whatever, and
And those
keep
are
track
small,
of that.
those are
So,
small lots, and the lots are gonna end up
Well,
being
most of
about.
that's not built out, so this will kind of,
I don't know, that'd be great if it catches that
Yeah.
before, yeah.
So what you're saying is you don't object to the proposed language here, but you have a separate issue.
Well, we
I'm
discussed
saying
that.
that the main issue that came out of our meeting was the, trying to explain why we made the recommendation to remove the town as a potential easement holder of that of the easement on that cluster subdivision open space. We think it's a good idea to have an easement on it, but we don't think it's a good idea to have the town or Conservation Commission as entity for the town, responsible for that sort of default obligation to monitor it however it gets developed, whatever shape results. So
So what happens if we remove the town, as the Conservation Commission is suggesting, and there is no conservation organization that wants to hold an easement on a particular piece of property, not because there's something wrong with the easement, but because it doesn't fit in with whatever their objectives are?
Then they can't get approval. Or they go for variance.
or standard subdivision.
If our objective is to encourage cluster housing, then wouldn't this make that more difficult?
Well, yes, if you blanketly state our objective is to encourage cluster housing, but I don't think we want to encourage cluster housing where the open space is gonna be.
A bunch of little pieces.
Frankly,
I
Neil,
can-
I would
I
say
can
there's
think of a
some
couple
places
subdivisions that we-
where clusters have gone forward where it's probably not appropriate. It's probably
Yes.
better to go forward as a standard.
But
And-
where it is appropriate, my concern is, and everybody agrees it's appropriate, if a conservation organization, for its own reasons, is not willing to take on this obligation, then we lose the opportunity in a place where it is appropriate to have a cluster subdivision, if, as a last resort, the town is unwilling to, or as you would have it, unable to take the fee for the open space.
That's the argument they had a month ago when I brought this up too, by the way. Same person had the argument even.
well, I
Do
mean,
we really
the-
wanna just eliminate the possibility of the town owning or owning the easement, or do we just wanna leave that to the discretion of the Conservation Commission?
Doesn't the town have an opportunity to say thanks but no thanks?
That's what, yeah, that's what I'm kinda saying.
Well,
Selectmen have to
the,
approve this,
the,
right?
I don't believe,
We certainly have and have been encouraged to voice our interest and concerns, but all we can do is advise. It's up to the planning board to
Yes.
accept. We don't
Conservation
have-
Commission's a recommendation.
We don't have
body.
any
Approval.
block, so to speak, on that,
But
except
nobody can force the town of Weare to accept the gift. And this is basically a gift. And the selectmen have to, I assume, as they do with any other gift, have to hold a public hearing and then make a decision whether or not to accept it.
No, it's not.
It's not a gift.
RSA for that.
This is
No.
exempt from that?
It's not a gift, it's, yeah, the way the RSA's are written, Conservation Commissions can accept.
It's an innovative land use planning part of the RSA.
well, Andy, of course, there's another fallback position, the town, forget the easement, you'll just take ownership, like they've already done. So you're not, that could still happen, right? So no bona fide, organization wants to hold the easement, you don't wanna hold the easement. So the plan was, that, geez, we'd still like to see this, cluster, town will take ownership. So you haven't really totally solved the problem with that. I think the planning board could solve the problem if they were committed to open space land that truly lent itself to your vision, shall I say. And I think that we have failed, and the company you talked about, it's like, wow, we never should have done this. Everybody was enthusiastic about it 10 years ago. You know, oh, that's great, we get that land, we get this land, well.
What would happen if we put in language that in effect said the 50% has to be compact and contiguous, or some language like that?
That's where it gets difficult to really describe all the nuances that could go into that consideration. I think your idea would help, but then you'd find someone who says, well, I can manage 45, but the bar is 50. If we, do I have to go to the variance to, address that issue?
You could say maybe 30% or something, but 50% is good.
But ultimately, that's most often that's what works best. That leaves shorter boundaries, fewer abutters, more clear demarcation between the types of, approved uses. But I'm not sure how to get to that.
You don't have language from some other ordinance that you could share? Some other town that's found the language and it works well?
There was I think a subcommittee that worked on that one, and Craig was a big part of that, I believe. Steve Major
That was,
worked on a lot.
that subcommittee was mostly just on, Chuck was the chairman of it.
I think the bottom line is, no, we didn't come up with.
We didn't, no.
This is the obvious and expected language that will result in, all our intents being met.
Absent the language, I think that you've made a solid case to the planning board that should a future cluster subdivision be placed before us, that we would attempt to achieve the goals that you suggested, and we're obligated to give it to the Conservation Commission for their input.
Yes.
And so,
certainly.
Did you have input on Eleanor Way?
Oh, yeah.
And we overrode them?
I wasn't on the board at that time.
My recollection was it was something that met the letter of the law, letter of the ordinance, and the planning board was okay with it.
I think Eleanor Way and Duck Pond were both, the town was learning an awful lot at that point. And
Part of the problem may be solved because we have learned.
I think a lot of it has.
Putting that issue aside, these two amendments have the Conservation Commission support?
Yes.
Thank you.
That is very, very, very significant improvements.
But you would still like to see the town taken off as an easement holder?
That's the message I'm delivering, yes.
I'm just trying to make sure everybody hears that.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to do that. I mean, I think we should give them the discretion to deny that they want to be the easement holder. But I don't think we just want to blanketly take it away. What happens if somebody comes up with a perfect thing and they got a rectangle, it's 200 acres? Why would we not want that as an easement owned by the town?
Yeah, but why wouldn't Society Protection Hampshire Forest or somebody else take it at that point?
Because New Hampshire Society for the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forest might have limited resources, and from their point of view, this particular easement is not as important as an easement in someplace else, in Weare or elsewhere.
And they're usually looking for contiguous.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's a block, there's nothing around it, they really wouldn't want it.
If it's 200 acres, I bet they would.
Our experience to this point has been that the partnership with, the main land trust in this area have shown terrific interest. They work up and have an easement up at Holly Hill. And that one, there was significant change to the initial plans based on their being brought into the discussion. And we want to encourage those organizations to be brought in by developers. And frankly, if a developer comes in with the land trust and says, this land trust is willing to take this, then many of our objections fall away. And we'd be very surprised if it is in the shape of some of these sort of gerrymandered ones that, from a conservation preservation standpoint, don't make a whole lot of sense. So we haven't, that could be the case, but we haven't seen the case where that's happened. We had another one over on the Dunbarton line, that Craig Heafield developed, and he had, I think it was probably an 8 or 10 lot subdivision, short road into it, and the very back end of it was just a block. And it was higher land, but it was easy to keep the houses down close to River Road, and it was
That's
not
one
more
of the
than
power
about
line beside it.
26 acres or so, but in that case, the Piscataquag Land Conservancy was very interested and very happy. They had clean exterior boundaries, and I think 1 or 2 abutters left at the end of the cul-de-sac.
I think it was a cul-de-sac with a 50-foot access to it and just
Yeah.
2 or 3
So
butters.
it's happened even down to fairly small lot sizes. The question is, how do you, we just would like to see, we'd like to eliminate this going into sort of compromise wedged in between things approach to open space.
You made that crystal clear.
Ken, reading through this, and bear with me for a moment, maybe I'm just not understanding something. Reading it as it states today, open space with a cluster development shall be protected by permanent conservation easements held by the town, comma, a qualified conservation organization. So we take the town out, the Conservation Commission is still a qualified conservation organization, so you take it out, Conservation Commission can still take it. All you're doing is labeling the town, you're identifying the town in this article as a qualified conservation organization. They still already are, so what's the difference if it's in there or not?
The town is a qualified conservation?
By the way I understand this, the way this is written, shall be protected by permanent conservation easement held by the town, comma, a qualified conservation organization.
Yeah, held by the
If the town is even left in there.
Or,
It doesn't say or, it says
Right,
comma.
the
A.
language, I would agree with you, the language is kind of,
To me, that tells me the
Little
town
sloppy
is a
there.
qualified, is a qualified
I
conservation.
think we have a poorly written ordinance in that case, but yes, I agree with you. Because I was gonna say take the semicolon out and add or also in that same sentence.
So my next, so if it's poorly written, then what is a qualified conservation organization? Again, we're gonna go back to an issue of a definition that I cannot find quickly. And maybe it's just my being a rookie, as you so eloquently put it earlier this
Thank you.
evening.
There's,
but the value is, you look at things, and this I've seen so many times, you look at things the way they're written instead of the way we've come to accept them.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I read that as the town, comma, a qualified conservation organization.
no, that's a second entity. You can read it that way, but that's not the way, what it's meant to be.
Well, it's written
It's like
bad.
everything in here could be read, yeah.
It's written wrong.
So if we take the
Even
town
if you
out,
could reverse the order and say a qualified land organization for the town.
if the word or was in there,
Yeah.
obviously it'd read a lot different, but what is the qualified conservation organization? Is the
there's an
Conservation
IRS,
Commission?
there's an IRS definition.
There is.
But when you start the organization, you have to meet certain guidelines to be a qualified conservation organization.
Okay,
So there's clear IRS
okay,
rules
good,
there.
okay.
They're not abundant though.
Do we qualify as that?
I doubt it.
The Conservation Commission doesn't qualify as that?
I doubt it.
Ask Andy.
Well, no, they don't.
It's hard to qualify us. Quantify, I can do better. Qualify.
I can certify that they aren't because they admit they haven't done the monitoring they're supposed to do.
I would say that should disqualify us.
Don't put that in
And-
the minutes, please.
Where's the 6-second rewind?
Good. You know, given and accepted in the spirit intended, but the point is, in any land trust has a very heavy burden to meet in doing the monitoring.
Mhm.
It's not easy for them to shirk that responsibility and stay a qualified conservation organization. It's easy for us to say, we're all volunteers, we don't have the time, we don't have the wherewithal, we don't have the resources. So whatever goes, whatever has been will be, which is not a good position or frankly a comfortable or enjoyable position for us to be in.
So by that understanding, then we shouldn't be holding any easements because the town's not qualified.
No, so the town or the comma, I mean, they can still do it. It's just they're not what I would consider a qualified, there's only two maybe, it's a static org, I don't know what they even call themselves now, in the Forest Society.
TLC,
Pretty difficult, yeah,
forestry.
PLC.
Okay.
And there are others to our north and to our east and
Right,
west that
but they come in this
could work
area.
in this area, but
Yeah.
they
They haven't,
typically
though.
don't, yeah.
Two active ones in here,
Yeah.
and Fish and Game.
Fish and Game has done some.
Yeah, so,
In any event, the next year, unless something changes dramatically, I don't think there are going to be very many, if any, cluster development applications.
I hope you're wrong.
I understand from a professional
Okay.
point of view, but certainly, the
No,
state from an
that's a
economic
personal
point of view
point of
too. Yes, but, I mean, that's the way things seem to be going.
And just for my own, maybe an aside edification here, the two members I don't know by name,
My name
Oh,
is John.
Jan and
Ricky.
Ricky.
Ricky's our ex officio, I'm sorry.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, if, I think John's pointed out something, if that town stays in, it might be worth changing the language to actually read the way we understand it, at least we who have been exposed to it.
Well,
many a time.
all we have to do is take the semicolon out and add the word or, right?
That's a very much clearer reading in line with what we've understood to this point.
Which line is that?
Right here.
Fifth line down.
Fourth line down also.
Fourth line down also?
You guys on 11?
Yes.
That's right.
Open
Fourth line
space,
down.
open space within a cluster development shall be protected by a permanent conservation easement held by the town, comma,
Right.
a qualified conservation organization, or the town of Weare and fee ownership shall be subject to, that doesn't work either.
No, the your goes after, instead of the first comma, after town.
At the town.
Held by the town or a qualified conservation organization.
And then it moves on to a different type of protection. And maybe that speaks to the case where it's
I was wondering
what,
where my
what
pen went. Is that
Chuck
one?
brought up.
We can
Why,
share.
for a moment.
We can share.
You need another pen over there? I got one.
Not fussy about this pencil, are you?
This sentence still reads weird to me.
I'd say it could even read that there's an option to have no easement,
Would it be,
and that option involves town ownership of the open space.
if you put an or after the semicolon? So the sentence would read, open space within a cluster development shall be protected by permanent conservation easements held by the town or a qualified conservation organization, semicolon, or the town in fee ownership subject to the restriction, etc.
Well, then it should be a semicolon at that point, it should be a regular comma.
Fair enough.
I'm glad you guys know your English.
I know enough that a semicolon doesn't fit there.
Right.
Where are you going? She sneaks in and sneaks back out.
But in that case, then we don't need the first or.
No, correct, a comma would fit there properly. at
That's
that
what I was trying to say in the beginning, and you guys said, no, you wanted an or there.
So it
Well,
now,
if the semicolon was there,
We
it
didn't
makes
change
sense.
any. Oh, we took- what-
Okay, you're taking the semicolon out, make it a comma, add or.
correct.
I think now I'm confused.
No, you wouldn't put a comma you wouldn't put comma or.
Just lose the
On
comma.
line 4, the second to last word is town.
Yeah,
It's followed by a comma.
yeah,
Okay, leave that the way it is. Going on, you see the semicolon? The next,
for
the
the
next,
town of in fee ownership,
qualified conservation organization, semicolon.
yeah,
Delete that semicolon and substitute the word or.
Okay,
So it should read, open space within a cluster development shall be protected by permanent conservation
That's what I
easements
said
held by
5
the
minutes
town,
ago.
uh-huh.
a qualified conservation organization, or the town,
Yeah,
in
the
town of
wheels
Weare
are
in
off
fee
the bus
ownership.
tonight.
Subject, et cetera.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If we don't take out the word town as requested.
I wouldn't wanna do it at this time. I think it just limits us too much.
I agree, it is, the way I read it, it still sounds it as it's defined.
Yeah, it still sounds that the town being defined as a qualified conservation organization, even with the change you guys just.
So you wanna say by the town or a qualified conservation organization or the town aware of fee ownership? That certainly
I think that,
solves that issue.
I think that solves that issue.
How about you reverse the worst, never mind, I'm not gonna say it.
I already said that one.
I think
Point
that
of
solves all
emphasis
those
should
issues.
be, work it out with the land trust, and then we're happy.
That certainly would be the preference, I agree with you. I certainly would keep that in mind should we have one of these applications. But keeping it in mind and putting ourselves in a situation where none of them come forward, and yet this looks like a cat's meow, I still would like to be able to say that, yes, the town will, in one form or another, easement or fee, accept the property.
You know, there is another option that has been exercised, and that's where the landowner had a cluster, and the individual homeowners were the only ones that could use the cluster, so it's not the worry situation, at least, I guess. That would be
Holy
the
moly,
Appalachian.
that goes completely against our whole ordinance.
That's the way they are,
Well, that's more akin to Fox Hollow. That was in very early on
yeah.
up there.
Well, so's the one down here on 114, the Appalachian situation. That's a cluster that the homeowners actually,
Homeowner association owns this open space,
Yeah.
but there's a easement to the town on it.
there's an easement to the town.
Yeah, the town already has the easement.
Yeah.
Out of the development yet.
And it's open to the public.
So is everybody all set with eliminating the two punctuation marks and substituting the word or for each of them?
Everybody but Andy.
No,
Well, I think that
I'm
reads
kidding.
more honestly, the three options.
Honestly.
You know, that's putting it out there. There are three options that we are willing to entertain.
So the comma's gone, or the semicolon's gone, it's an or.
correct.
Now, does anybody think that maybe they should go in order of preference? So that you're not, I mean, does anybody look at it and say, oh, well, it says the town, that's first, that must mean you like that option?
Well, now I'm even more confused, the more I read this, because now we're saying the town, then, or a qualified conservation, or the town again.
No,
The town by
The
fee.
second town is by owning it as opposed to an easement.
in the first use of the town says, open space within a cluster development shall be protected by a permanent conservation easement held by the town
So it's
Okay,
three different avenues.
now-
or a qualified conservation
So,
organization.
Permanent conservation easement held by the town is one option.
Yes.
Yes,
Qualified conservation is option two, town of, okay, good, easy, just, but. An open space within a cluster development should be protected by one of three options. Option A, however you wanna eloquently put this, option A, a permanent conservation be held by the town, a qualified, option B, qualified conservation organization, or option C, the town in fee ownership. That would solve the whole punctuation issue.
I like the ors. It's less typing.
Yes.
Only type it once.
I've already typed it twice, what are you talking about?
You've written it.
Huh?
You copied and pasted, didn't you?
Not the bold part.
Oh, okay.
I like that little more bold in the middle of that paragraph.
Yeah.
Craig, did you have to open a public hearing on this or something? Because it's posted.
No. Yeah.
Well, it could be public after.
Yes.
I'm gonna open a public hearing for all the zoning ordinance changes right now. Anybody in public like to talk? Okay, let's continue. Personally, what I think I would like to see, and that is not for, and this is definitely not for this year, some kind of, without using the point system, where, okay, the open space is deeded to the easement is deeded to whoever, you get 5 points. You give 60% rather than 50%, you get 5 more points. You add up all these points and poof, you get 2 more lots or 3 more lots or something.
Incentives are great,
Yes.
you can square them away.
Well, let's have a committee.
I'm not gonna do it this year or next year. We still have to
It's
get
been
through.
brought up before.
Yes. It is actually rather simple once you get it set up, but it's hard to set up. But incentive is the way to go. Give a reason for the open space to be whatever shape that whoever wants it to be, and if the town gets it, you get 0. If the town holds the easement, you get 0 points. If somebody else holds it, if the town holds, you get -5 points. If somebody else holds it, you get 5, something like that. Yeah, you know. Oh, there are towns that have negative points in their point system. So what's the consensus?
Let's,
Leave the town in, add a couple oars.
I think for now,
yes.
yes.
Correct.
Okay. I personally don't have a problem with that because I'm sitting over here and I can say, hey, you guys are idiots. Let's remember what the Conservation Commission said?
No, I appreciate, even sometimes more beneficial than agreement is discussion on understanding and awareness of intent and positions. So, appreciate everybody considering the recommendations we pass on and being given the opportunity to make those recommendations.
A request to the Conservation Commission, when we give you something, because either we want your opinion or if the statute or something requires it, it would be very helpful if we had an answer regardless of what your opinion is. We have no opinion. It's helpful.
Something happened on that Melcher subdivision. Somehow, I don't know what happened.
I think we had
Other than that, we get comments.
a meeting, maybe our September meeting was canceled or something, and we didn't have a quorum. And
Maybe that's the only one.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes most of the time, your meeting is the night before ours.
Yeah, but our
I
public
do
hearing
try-
is
When I'm
2
aware of
weeks.
that, I try to get the comments.
Even an
Right
email
along,
is
yeah.
fine.
That's what usually gets me. I usually get an email from him.
On every one?
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Usually, except for Melcher. That's the only one I can think of right offhand. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I think that's clear. This is a lot clearer than.
Let's go back to the top of the order. 3.12.1. Or do you want to, no, let's do this way.
What are we doing?
The top of the list. We mentioned before 3.12.1, which is your vesting statute. It's in the wrong place, and we need to delete it and move it to subdivision and site plan.
Substantial completion.
Yes, because the RSA says we have the right to put it in a subdivision and site plan ordinance. We don't have the right to put it in here. It's in the wrong place. According to Bill
Drescher
Drescher.
tell us?
Yes.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
didn't Bill Drescher tell us that when he reviewed it 6, 7 years ago?
I have no idea, but that's what he's telling us now.
Just amended, what, 2 years,
Let's not-
5 years ago.
I have a note here. Drescher said it belongs in
Yes,
subdivision ordinances and remove it from the zoning ordinance.
yes.
What is that, what's the ramification of that, what I'm concerned about?
The ramification right now, it's not legal. It's not, we can't enforce it. It's in the wrong place per the RSA.
Why is it, where does it say it's not legal?
674.39.
So we would have to have another public hearing to add it to the site, to the
Subdivision.
subdivision regulations?
Pass one down. In case they forgot their book. Pass a couple more down. You can have them all.
You
Chip
you didn't highlight the right part.
kindly given us copies.
Oh, I got it right here.
Jeff, what are you handing out?
I'm sure there'll be an extra one.
Yes, 674.39.
It's the 5-year exemption, which refers to vesting, I believe, in the first paragraph.
I got 2 copies. Anybody want it?
You want a motion on this, Craig? You don't need one.
Did you find where we're talking about yet? Roman numeral 3. The planning board may, comma, as part of its site plan, subdivision and site plan regulations, or as a condition of a subdivision plat or site plan approval, comma, specify the threshold levels of work that need to be da 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 da. It doesn't mean anything in our zoning ordinance.
Well, we already did that, but it doesn't, that's what we did, right?
No, we did not put anything in our subdivision or site plan regulations.
It's in zoning.
It's in
So you
zoning.
need to put it in subdivision.
We need to take it out of
and site
zoning,
plan.
put it in subdivision and site plan.
You need a motion.
Not yet. If we agree, we'll just go on to the next one.
Well,
Uh,
the fact that it's in the zoning doesn't necessarily nullify it.
No, it's not enforceable.
It's not enforceable.
Unenforceable.
It doesn't mean anything. Per our attorney.
It's not enforceable, no need for it to be there.
Move it in somewhere.
We don't have the right to put it there.
Well,
Thank you, Andy.
there again, you know, that's a.
Thank you again.
a monumental blunder on his part. So be it,
I don't know if in '08 we had him look at that or not.
yeah.
I assume we did, but I don't know that.
Usually all he gets paid to look at is the numbering.
I've been at least
Ooh,
told that he
I was told
reviews
different.
what we do.
He reviews them and numbers them and puts them in the appropriate order and organizes everything. He doesn't review them for content. Although I have received some comments from him, but usually it just comes back as,
Well, I guess it's
this is
beside the
what you
point.
put on your
Either,
warrant.
either way, it's not in the right
Yeah.
place. Okay,
Okay, so that was which paragraph, what, 3?
yes, Roman numeral 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the printed copy if you don't want to carry the book around. First page.
And I hope I have my sign of this with me.
I think it's similar.
You're not gonna believe this.
Oh, of course I am.
Yeah, my notebook's at work too.
What are you looking at here?
Right there. No, I don't have it. Awesome.
Do my eyes deceive me?
So what's it take to move it?
Hmm?
What does it take to move it?
It takes
Is
a,
that-
it takes
is
a
that
town vote to
something
delete
you
it.
might like?
Then we have to do a public hearing for subdivision and site plan regulations and put it in there. Thank you.
I don't know if that's the one that has Neil's yellow
Yes, it is.
changes. in
That's
it.
not yellow, but it has NK all over it. And I forgot my notebook, and therefore I don't have my sign ordinance with me,
I have 2 copies of
but
it.
Chip just gave me a copy, so.
Well, let me, are we going to do that this year, or?
We haven't acted on the deletion. Doesn't it need
Okay.
a vote of the planning board?
We don't need to vote on it until January.
Oh, okay.
Well, everything you-
I just want to discuss it to make sure everybody's on board before we get to the vote.
Got it.
Same with the buffer blazing and that kind of thing. We don't need to do
Because
this.
this is a public hearing, we don't have to take any votes.
No. We're just discussing at this point of time. Since I left my notebook and everything at work, where I was typing up stuff this afternoon,
stage are we at, Craig? Are we at revising 4.1? Going by the agenda, or are you jumping around?
Oh, I'm at 4.1.
You are at
Yes.
4.1.
I just did the buffer.
Definition of signs.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay. That's what I was like.
Yep.
which we were okay with, right? Last time, I believe. Unless somebody's thought of it. We were gonna,
Wasn't the question on 4.1 that we had the definition in two places and we're gonna move it?
Yeah, we were gonna
Yes.
scratch it off 34.2.
it's gonna come out of 34.2 is gonna be
Yep.
deleted.
That was the decision we made back on November 12th.
And we're gonna revise the sign definition in 4.1.
Yep.
You want the new one for the ambulance, correct?
Let me ask you, just back up for a second, if we may.
Sure.
312.1 has now been noticed that it was gonna be shifted to the what, site plan?
Subdivision and site plan, yes.
So it is in effect at this point?
As much as it was before, yes.
No, more so, because once it's noticed, it would now take, it would now be...
We have not made public notice, it's in the subdivision. We haven't made public notice to change the subdivision site plan regulations.
I believe once discussion starts, even back in December, back in November, that anything that has been discussed to be, is in effect.
Has to be posted.
No, you have to be posted in public, you have to be published in the paper and posted in 14, 11, 10
Okay.
days before the meeting.
Okay.
I think the sign definition that we're putting in 4.1 should be amended in accordance with the language that I have on that November 19th sheet, because of the United States versus whatever it was, the U.S. Supreme Court Reed case. The folks at the Municipal Association held that everything you needed to know about the new sign ordinance, and they sent around some sheets. So when I
Yes.
was making my comments, I incorporated the recommendations that the Municipal Association made to planning boards to revise their sign ordinances, to make sure they were constitutional in accordance with the Reed case. You have the 19th?
No.
Yes. I have
What's the date at the top of yours?
7.
No,
No.
gotta be 19. Anybody got an extra copy?
I don't remember getting that.
I don't remember getting it either.
I don't have it in my
I got
email.
3 October 7th.
You don't remember getting that? I'll bring it, I can bring it next time. I printed it out. There were 3 or 4 things that we got in an email from, either from Chip or Southern New Hampshire.
Southern,
There
I
was an
forwarded
email
it
you
from
sent
Southern
directly
New
to
Hampshire.
me, and if I can read it out loud, this is in response to my email that I sent out about the projectors, and you replied afterwards with, I reread the definition and believe these displays are covered, a permanent or temporary display visible. You really,
That wasn't the issue that I'm raising.
yeah, that's the only thing I see from you regarding.
You guys don't have this? I sent this to
No.
everybody.
I didn't, I don't remember seeing it.
I never got a revised version.
No, it's the 7th.
Yeah, the October version that I highlighted for everybody.
Can you make copies?
Sure. I'll slay a tree on the way to
Holy
the coffee
jeez.
machine.
See you
No,
later.
you're keeping the loggers in business.
Supporting the local economy.
That's right. Right. Just be careful what roads you go down. There's some that are gonna be posted soon.
Some are gonna have trees across them.
I'm gonna take a little break while he's making copies.
Here, this is some of this. this is part of what they sent me. And they sent it to all of us, because I didn't go looking for this. In fact, we were, this was a
I got
seminar.
this email.
Okay.
Yep,
Not from me, I mean, you got it from them.
I got it from Chip, I think.
Okay,
I
from
think Chip
Chip,
forwarded it on, yeah.
right.
Yeah, I remember this going out.
And so what I did, and you'll see it in the, what it gives you, I tried to take everything that the municipal association said, Reed requires this,
Yep.
and put it in, and you'll see I have an R after it, meaning it's not me, it's Reed.
Yep.
But since
Yeah,
we,
because I remember, I thought I sent out an email saying I think we ought to go through this and.
yes, you did.
This drive-in directional sign, is that like a drive-through, like direction for, like where the drive-through window is that what that means?
Yes.
As opposed to
So according to Reed, what Reed basically said was, you really cannot talk about sign content. You can regulate everything, but not content. So
Because of freedom of speech, yep.
right. So before Reed, if we had an exemption for a drive-in directional sign, in other words, a sign that says there's a drive-in there, something like that, according to them, and maybe they're just being extra cautious, that's no longer allowed. So what you could do is to say an exemption allowing an extra sign with the square feet and so forth for a lot that includes a drive-through window. Okay? I mean,
No, I know.
and this is only part of it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's a whole bunch of other things that came through. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
No, sir, just thanks. Tina didn't get one?
Okay.
I actually excluded myself.
So we got, a couple of months ago, we all, everybody in town, the town committee, got this little notice from Southern Hampshire Planning Commission, asking for any communities, photos that people want to submit for their calendar. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you submit something?
I sent in 2 photos on a lark. One of them is the cover of the calendar.
And it was a picture of a lark?
No, it was a picture while it was 120 feet in the air at the old town hall, but it took down 114.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice. That made the cover?
yeah,
Awesome.
Jeez.
Can you get us a copy?
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
You were in a plane?
No, it was in the
No.
crane,
Crane?
Oh.
Yeah,
Doing
yeah,
what?
when
looking
Gould,
at the tower at the old town hall.
yeah, when you were taking down the spires, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I just,
Good for you.
Now he's published and conceited about it.
Now, wait, was.
That's what he's been doing for 3 months.
no, they got my name right on the picture. They got photo taken by.
That's what you've been doing for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And what are your
That was
royalties,
it.
Chris?
I didn't get any check.
No royalties, huh?
See, that was my question, and you laughed at me, see?
He's a pretty good businessman, but there are some
Sugar and
missing
spice just popped up. There's
opportunities.
Exactly, you know, the contract, the small print, you know.
Was your other one used?
No.
Would you agree that of the two, this was the far superior?
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the original one, not the ones with the changes with the dates in it.
Maybe just trying to get them back to the original.
Okay, so you're adding the part about government signs, basically.
What I did in this one was to incorporate all the changes we agreed on
Yep.
when we met on November 12th, and
Yep.
That's noted here. And then anything that has an R after it is a change that I made because of what I understood the Reed case required based on the various articles that we were sent. So for example, on 34-1, we were supposed to add enhanced traffic safety and add the master plan.
Before we get too far into that.
Yeah.
Right now, we're only on
Yeah,
4.1.
let's stick with definition. We're talking about 4.1, so let's
So
stick with the
34.2
definition
is what
part.
we're gonna look at for the moment.
In 34-2, you'll see there are 3 Rs there, plus the 11-12 change.
I'm surprised we have to be that specific about street numbers.
I have no problem with eliminating it, but I put it in because
Yeah.
it was suggested by the municipal association.
Oh, I was just
Yeah.
making a comment that it's just, that there, that,
You and I probably would both agree that most of these things are
Way overkill.
exactly.
Why are we taking out and customarily associated with residential and agricultural use?
Because
Evidently,
that was content as opposed to the sign itself. But if you look at the example that they gave us, that we were doing before, here was one example. Before Reed, you could have an exemption allowing for sale, allowing, quote, for sale, unquote, or, quote, rent, unquote, signs. After Reed, you have to say an exemption allowing an extra sign on property that is currently for sale or rent. Okay? Because in the first case, you're talking about content, and in the second case, you're not.
Good Lord.
Apparently, some lawyers are in desperate need of work.
Evidently.
These aren't my examples, by the way. This is municipal association.
Some judge made the decision also.
Oh, I definitely, he does look good.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
no, I bet you have. That's right. It's like, Jesus, when it was just,
I personally don't have a problem with this revised 4.1.
I thought our original one was better, but this one is compliant.
Any other comments on 4.1?
no.
Can we sneak in the bed and breakfast discussion now, or do you want to skip the bed and breakfast?
What does that have to do with signs?
Nothing.
Oh.
I was gonna quit the definition of signs and go to the next item on the list that Chip made,
I see, okay.
which is 17.3.7. Which is the brief discussion we had before about adding bed and breakfast as either a special exception or as an allowed use in rural ag and residential.
17.3 what?
17.3.7. I guess the question is 17.3.7 or 19.1.4 or neither.
And the reason for identifying it again was what?
Just that right now, we had somebody come in with that conceptual, talk about a bed and breakfast in rural ag.
Yep.
We,
About 6 months ago, I think?
yes,
Yep.
we kind of didn't know if it was included or not, but kind of thought maybe it should be, I think, at the
Well, I
time.
got a note here for the definition of the bed and breakfast, and,
Yeah, I don't have my notebook. Sorry.
New Hampshire RSA 175.1. I wrote down Roman numeral 6. That was in liquor,
Yeah, but that was, I don't think,
but that was the only definition I could find in an RSA.
I don't have my book, but I was supposed to ask Bill Drescher about that. wasn't I?
Sure.
To find, to find a definition, or find. Either one, I don't want to use that with the liquor commission.
That's what actually a lot of the other RSAs were referring back to, was their definition.
Could you read?
Sure.
Yeah, that had a bunch of bedrooms, if I remember right. More than 6 or something like that, it said in it.
Definition of a bed and breakfast as found in RSA 175:1 definitions. Roman numeral 6, bed and breakfast means a building or buildings regularly used and kept open as such in a bona fide manner for the feeding and lodging of transient guests. A bed and breakfast shall have at least 4 rentable rooms and an area of dining capable of accommodating the number of registered guests and whose posted room rates shall include breakfast. That's pretty simple definition of what a bed and breakfast
It's not
is.
a bad definition.
No,
No, I thought,
It's very good.
Yeah.
What would happen if somebody wanted to take that, and as was the case of this fellow, he's got a big barn.
mhm,
In the bedroom, the house has 6 bedrooms plus associated bathrooms and so forth. It's a very big colonial.
okay,
But the barn could have been converted, I don't know, 20 to 40 rooms.
sure, it says at least 4 rentable rooms.
Correct, but here's the problem. This is in a residential area. That, if you get these very big, it's the equivalent of a hotel in terms of traffic and noise.
So put a cap on the room number.
That's,
Well, we,
the reason, that's exactly where I was going, Ricky. So my question is, should this, rather than putting it as a permitted use under 1737,
Do it as a special exception.
would we be better off putting it in as a special exception?
under,
either way, they need a site plan, either way, they still have to go to
Right,
the
but
zoning board.
would we be would we have the ability, a better ability under Article 19 to consider the neighbors' problems if somebody proposed to put in a very large B&B? Or should we just simply limit it arbitrarily? No fewer than 4, no more than X.
No, I think we should have some flexibility. I think the special exception idea is better. Because if somebody's got one out in the middle of a 100-acre lot and no neighbors for 1,000 feet, they don't.
And nobody else is on the road, so that it's
Yeah.
well,
not
at that point,
traffic issue.
based on the same RSA, definition of a hotel means a facility regularly used, maintained, and kept open for the feeding and lodging of transient guests. A hotel shall have at least 12 rentable rooms.
So,
If you, based on this, you surpass 12, then you're considered a hotel by RSA 175:1.
so 4 to 11.
4 through 11 is a bed and breakfast.
4 through 11 would be considered, could be classified as a bed and breakfast, yes.
12 and more would be a hotel.
But if I come in with 40 rooms for B&B and I include breakfast, because that was the
It's still a
requirement.
hotel.
It's still a hotel because you can get continental breakfast at a Holiday Inn Express.
But then why don't we say in the ordinance between 4 and 11?
That's, yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that included in state law?
Well, no, that's state law for other purposes. That's not state law for zoning purposes.
Correct. I couldn't find a definition of bed and breakfast in the zoning. The only definition I could find, an RSA definition, was in the liquor commission.
Well, if a law's a law,
So
don't
with
you
that
have to
narrow
comply with it?
definition, Just put the cap on
You
it.
just say,
Well,
this is a
yeah.
horse of a
I
different
like
color
that.
and I don't have to
I like
comply?
The purpose of that definition is when I open a B&B and want to have a liquor license,
It's a different class of license.
right, and I may have to pay a different amount of money. If I want to open a hotel and have a liquor license,
Yep.
Right,
same thing.
different fund.
But that's
But it's still,
unrelated to the zoning.
that's still a good valid definition, though, that we can
I
follow.
agree, but if we don't take it, it doesn't apply. We have to decide that's the definition we want and put it in our zoning ordinance.
So we do that, then we just do it in Article 17, we don't need to do it in special exception.
Why doesn't home base 1737, why doesn't that cover bed and breakfast?
We thought it did when this guy was in, right?
No.
But it wasn't clear.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think that's as clear as it could get.
Well, we're saying
It's a home-based
Home-based
business.
business though has limits on the,
lawyer, doctor, realtor, accountant, notary, it's nothing like that.
And-
Beauty shop, music teacher, tailor, or other, it's nothing like
Isn't it
that.
nice that 17.3.8 is vacant?
Yes.
We can put it right in there.
and home-based business is limited to 25% of 500 feet of the, house.
There we go. So we definitely need it as a separate,
Yeah,
oh my God, you're here, we missed that completely.
I did too, yeah.
You missed that completely when he was here.
the definition of home-based business.
Because a B and B would occupy 100% of your
Right.
house, basically.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't occupy my bedroom.
No, okay, so it's 90% of your house.
Or my bathroom.
So theoretically, we should add it in 17.37
Put a definition in here and allow.
and put a definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, that's what I was thinking. What's our, and possibly modify the hotel.
So, under 17.3.8, we would say, bed and breakfast. And then in 4.1,
Have to add a
we
definition.
would add the definition.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that if we're gonna define bed and breakfast, that we need to alter hotel, tourist court, tourist home, et cetera, definition in our definitions. To reflect the numbers,
Yeah.
RSA.
the RSA numbers that we saw.
Colon again?
175-1.
Yeah, but,
Oh.
6 is for bed and breakfast, I don't remember what hotel was.
Yeah.
Hotel
Well-
is, 37, XXXVII.
You know, tourist home really sounds like a B and B, doesn't it?
Yes.
A little bit.
Actually, to me, that sounds like a hostel.
A hostel,
Yes.
where kids throw down a sleeping bag for $1.50 a night, is that what you mean?
That's kind of what I'm thinking a tourist home would be. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, but I've got travel on the brain
Wow.
right now too, so.
A tourist court to me was always a motel consisting of cabins. They existed in the 30s and 40s.
Right, the perimeter's extinct. now.
Right, tough to find them. An inn, well, a motel was a tourist port where all the cabins were connected.
On the one floor.
It could be 1 or 2 floors, but generally. And cabins were, I don't know, because I always thought of a tourist court as a series of cabins.
I mean, that's a campsite or campground.
What is an inn?
Kind of like a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, the current definition says shall be a building or portion thereof where lodging or food is offered.
Or?
That's a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
the or.
An inn is defined as an establishment providing accommodations, food, and drink, especially for travelers. Synonyms are hotel, guest house, lodge, bed and breakfast, B&B, hostel,
So it's just a generic term.
tavern, bar, tap room, pub, public house, watering hole. Okay.
You want to define watering hole and put it in our definition section?
It might already be there.
I think, those are now listed as special exceptions under Article 19.14.
Well, now that we know what those are,
Why don't we simply
just leave it alone?
why don't we
Add bed and breakfast in that 19-1?
Add bed and breakfast 19.1.4, but I think John's correct that we really should define some of these things.
Why can't you have a bed and breakfast in residential?
Most of the time, people are doing them in older houses, and that's where they are. in the
You
residential.
can with a special exception.
Yeah, there is one.
Now, let me ask
Maybe.
you this, and it's just what would you classify, the tavern down on Dustin Tavern Road? Would that be village district, or village zoning district, or is that
Yeah,
rural?
that's the village district.
Alright, well, if they wanna open up as a historical bed and breakfast, they can't do that according to the exemption. Right?
Well, it'd be allowed in the village.
Then they go for variance.
If that's considered village zoning district, I mean.
Yep.
Just a hypothetical.
Anything that's in here can be appealed to the zoning board.
'Cause I wouldn't wanna see that denied. If for some reason they wanted to do that, they would, but.
Be nice to see more bed and breakfast in town, actually.
We had one, but they stopped.
Yeah.
Ellen Goldberg,
Up in Quaker.
on Quaker, right?
Yeah.
That somebody there used to have a bed and breakfast.
I don't know who it was, but I know where it was. I could drive you to
Was
it.
that the yellow house?
The one on the right.
Yes.
Yes, with the pastoral around it and horses and yes.
Well, I guess as long as it's for the better.
So we want to put bed and breakfast in 1914 and add a definition for bed and breakfast? Is that what I hear?
And
Yes.
clarify what a hotel is.
Agreed, yes, both of them.
So we're gonna take out 1737, just forget about it. Leave it in the special exception. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not gonna put it, we're gonna leave it special.
John, could you come up with those two definitions for hotel and B&B?
Yep, you want me to just email that tonight? Or
Sure.
You want to just read it out and have you write it?
No,
down?
don't do that.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah, don't write it, don't blurb it out, no.
I'll email it in the morning.
That works. Okay. Last but certainly not least,
Geez, we're almost done.
only one left.
We did 2739, right?
Yes. And 27,311.
Okay.
All we got left is 34.
All we have left.
That's it.
Oh, we
Well,
can do
that's-
that on the 17th.
That's not all, but we got more we could do. So we're on to 34, is that true now? 34-1. I would think New England would be all right in there, but okay, we'll leave it. The visual New England rural character, we can't do New England rural characters. But why are we taking out this part about the adequate business identification and advertising? Because that is the purpose of a sign.
No.
Maybe not the sign
can't-
ordinance.
We can't say that that's the purpose, because that talks about content. That was the whole point of reading.
Yes, okay.
That's why they want that.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I tried to do as little as I thought, as few changes as I thought we could get away with and still meet the requirements or meet the suggestions of the lawyers.
So actually, yes, but the purposes of the ordinance, not of a sign, so, okay. I guess I'm over that.
You've never seen a master plan? It's up on the website. Very interesting read.
I think that's a historic document at this point, is it not?
Yeah, it's,
It's 2005?
yes, it's up there, yeah.
And we have an obligation by statute to review these or
Yeah.
revise these.
Is it every 10
10
years?
years, I think.
Is it every 10 or every 5 or something?
So like this year.
We do not have an obligation. It's
We do not?
recommended. It's recommended,
Statutorily?
yes. It's not a shall. You're talking about the master plan?
Yes.
Yes.
He asked what it was, so
And besides
we have a
that-
copy of part of it.
And besides that, if you remember, we did update it like 2 years ago,
We did?
portions of it.
Portions.
Yes. Yes, we added some portions and changed some portions.
It was a very modest
It was, yes.
change.
But statutorily, we did modify the ordinance.
We updated.
Yes. Okay, I'm okay with 34.1. 34.2 is deleted and moved to 4.1.
Right.
If I could, just real quick, Neil, you mentioned that there aren't any more B&Bs in town. There's actually 3 of them listed on Airbnb right now, actually.
Airbnb is different.
It is, but,
I mean, it's just somebody renting a room
or it could be,
or a house,
yes.
but it doesn't
It
include
doesn't,
breakfast.
no, but that's what the public thinks could be a bed and breakfast, and some of them do include breakfast.
But it's not a requirement to list on Airbnb.
No, it's not.
Do you know where they are and how many rooms they're listing?
Yeah, that's something we could probably discuss after this if you
Okay.
want, but yeah, there's 3 listed.
How do you keep track of temporary signs?
We don't.
We don't.
We don't. There are restrictions, but they just kind of,
Temporary signs tend to morph into permanent signs, especially the A-frame ones. I could mention a few, but I won't.
so at some point in time, you confront these people, or?
Yeah, but then they claim they're persecuted.
Oh. So there shouldn't be any real issues with signs, should there?
No.
3491 was just incorporating the changes that we already agreed on. And that's where we stopped our discussion. As you can see, we made significant progress.
Completion?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so we're into 34.9. Two.
Is this an old note, Neil, or new note, under 3492?
I believe it's an old note, isn't it?
Going back.
John, I don't remember. I know I had something. but
It's
whether
on the
I changed it or
It's on the
not.
October 7th one, so yes, it's an old,
Okay,
it's,
it's an old one.
I think I need to, I think it would be helpful if somebody on the committee explained what the concern was, because the way, by eliminating this, it allows, you could take the 10 by 10 sign in the commercial zone that we expect to be on the ground and put it on top of the roof.
No, I don't think so. Because I think we have height limitations as to how high a sign can be.
But if it can be on the roof, the signs that go on the side of the building were limited to 75% of the height of the building. Is there someplace?
On the face of the wall, yes.
Right, is there anything in here that talks about a sign, height limit if the sign is on the roof? Maybe I missed it.
no, I don't believe there is.
So,
Well, I think that's almost what they were trying to do by adding that bold section, that it's within 2 feet of the roof's eave. That way there would limit it, you would have to be down towards the bottom, you couldn't put it up on the peak. So that would limit the height somewhat.
well, The point is, the subcommittee suggests eliminating this in its entirety. My understanding of doing that would mean that whatever sign you're allowed to have could be placed anywhere. Now, that may not have been their intention, but I think that's the result of deleting this. So my suggestion was, as you can see, is in the middle there, because I thought that the problem was that you wanted to be able to put bigger signs on farmers' porch roofs.
I think I was the one that brought this up, and I mentioned the barn in Northwood on Route 4 heading towards Portsmouth.
Right, you did.
Yep, and I think that was the reason why we at least discussed 3492.
If that's your objective,
That
I
was,
think you
that
need
was
different
part of it,
language.
that was part of it, but
We were certainly trying to get bigger signs on farmers' porches. That was certainly a lot of discussion. And we talked about putting words into the shingles and things like that.
Which are prohibited by this.
currently.
they're currently.
Currently, yes.
There's nothing that prevents you from putting decoration on your roof. In other words, let's
As
assume
long as it
that,
doesn't form a word.
correct, so let's assume that you're.
Well, it can't be a symbol, can't be a symbol either that is trying to
You
sell
can put
something.
up a fleur-de-lis on the roofs to talk about your French heritage. But if you were running a mobile station, I think putting a picture of Pegasus, the flying horse, I know this is many years ago.
Texaco.
On the, is that Texaco?
Texaco Star.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, Texaco was the star.
Yeah.
Texaco Star, no, Pegasus was mobile.
Yeah. I think that would be a sign.
I think at that point, you're gonna run into your legal issues with the First Amendment.
Well, you need about the gas stations don't have pitch roofs anymore anyway, they're all flat.
Because now you're trying to modify content, and we're having that
No,
issue.
I'm talking about location, not content.
Well, you say
Well, no,
you can put a
I
symbol,
apologize, yes,
you
you're
can put a
right.
symbol, but you can't put words. Now, now you have that First Amendment issue, so.
You could be right.
And that's not where we initially went with this, but now that you're bringing this up, it's,
Yeah, that's not where we were going, I know that.
What is it that you're trying, that the committee was trying to accomplish here on roof signs?
be less restrictive.
I understand. Less restrictive and totally without limitation are two different things.
Yeah, because,
I think allowing signs on farmers' porch roofs is less restrictive. It may not be, you may want it to go further than that, but it's certainly less
No,
restrictive.
I know we discussed having them on farmers' porch roofs, and I think we're all in agreement that that was perfectly acceptable. I don't think we ever
Well,
discussed
we-
the main roof.
The one thing we wanted to do was take the size limitation out of the farmer's porch roof and put that with the rest of the size limitation. That was a part of it.
Well, this doesn't do that.
This,
Well, by eliminate the whole thing you did.
The whole thing, looks like, to me, it looks like the whole thing that was up below that was crossed out was just pre-written down below.
anything in brackets is a suggested alternative that I'm
that's your writing
proposing.
down below,
Yes.
alright, never mind, sorry.
But,
The subcommittee came back to take the whole thing out.
right,
Alright, I didn't see there was a bracket down below, I didn't realize it was all yours, no, sorry. I thought his was yours, just in between.
I really wonder whether folks in this town would like to see 10-by-10 signs on roofs, on the top of a tent roof.
Well, obviously, it's not gonna be 10 by 10 because of the other, but no, I understand your point.
The only thing, unless I'm reading this way wrong, the only thing this farmer's porch reference does is say it's not a prohibited sign, right?
That's correct.
It doesn't specify, it's still a sign, so it still needs to meet the size requirements of the sign, right? Limitations,
Yes.
Yes, but we up the size requirements.
further down.
Yeah, well, maybe previously or further down, whichever, yes.
Well, the only thing this does is say farmer's porch roof mounted signs are legit. Size is another discussion further into the document, right?
That almost seems redundant.
But remember that this whole section is prohibited signs.
Right.
So,
So roof mounted signs are prohibited, but
Right.
farmer's porch signs are not.
correct.
Well, it was,
That's what this language,
That's what Neil's suggestion is.
that was
Yeah.
the suggestion that I made.
I'm okay with that.
and I don't think you need the reference to lower pitch. Some farmer's porches have the same pitch as a house if they're on a, like on a gable wall, not necessarily underneath the eave of the roof. You know what I mean? If the house is like the gable end facing the street and the porch is on essentially the end of the house, that farmer's porch roof can have the same pitch as the main house.
I see, so take out,
The lower
and this is
pitch
the
part.
current definition, take out, between building and, take out and everything else in the sentence. So it reads, a farmer's porch means a one-story open shed which is attached either to a vertical wall of a building or at the eave of a roof of a building, period.
Period, yeah.
And therefore it could have any pitch.
Right.
I'd go with that.
So, let me back up a little bit. Right now, you can have a sign on a farmer's porch as long as it's 2 feet away from the eave, and it's less than 1.5 feet high.
Correct.
Okay. I know we were trying to change that.
If you adopt the language that I propose, then you could, whatever size sign you're entitled to have on
You could
that
put it on a
property
porch.
could be put on a farmer's porch, subject to, well, I'm not even sure, John, would it be subject to the 75% limitation?
Yeah, typically if it's on a farmer's porch, you're not gonna be 75 feet of the total building height.
No, and that's just the maximum limitation, so, I mean,
But would it apply to that sign? Because the way it was written, it applied to a sign that was attached to a building, right?
to a vertical wall of the building.
Right.
Not to a roof, I think we specified vertical wall. But to answer your question, no, because I can't imagine a farmer's porch roof being at 75% or higher of the main structure.
Say it's a one-story.
You wouldn't have a farmer's porch then, you'd have a real porch.
No, let's take the gate, you've got a one-story building with a gable roof.
You get it on a cape where it changes pitch and
Right.
there's a porch underneath that.
On the
could be a
end,
farmer's
okay, yeah.
porch.
Yep.
Yeah, 75% of the height of the building wall.
What section you
Where'd you
read?
see that?
But I think limiting to the
34,
first
10,
floor will
Three-
take care of a lot.
34.
10, 34.
3410, 34.
That's only in the commercial business, that's only in the commercial though.
The farmer's porch have a lot shallower roof, so.
That's the
Yeah.
first one I
Not gonna
found.
be
in-
above
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No part of any sign attached to a wall
Yep.
shall be higher than 75% of the height of the wall. Okay. So this would not be
That's
subject to
everywhere.
that.
No,
So
because.
let's assume this occurs in, what's 3410-3, is that
That's commercial.
commercial? Okay.
It says the same thing in village.
A commercial district, farmer's porch, one-story building,
Yep.
hardware store, whatever it is.
Mhm.
You're allowed to have a sign that's 32 square feet or up to 96 square feet. So let's say 96 square feet. That's, let's make it 8 by 12,
Mhm.
okay? Could you put an 8 by 12 sign on top of that farmer's porch? And the answer is, based on what we just, if you went along with this language, the answer is yes. Even if the top of the sign was higher than 75% of the vertical wall to which the farmer's porch was attached, if the farmer's porch were attached to the gable end of a one-story building.
Technically, they could make it 1 foot wide and as tall as the limitation, I mean, but as tall as,
Yes,
Yeah.
it could be 96 feet tall.
sure.
That's what you want?
No.
Well, we can just add a,
What was your scenario again?
Imagine that you have a one-story building with a gable end.
Yep.
Okay? Roof like this, one
Yep.
story below it. Somebody puts on a farmer's porch.
Yep.
Regardless of the pitch,
Yeah.
the highest point of the pitch is probably 8 feet, 9 feet, the height of the first floor. Okay? Somebody, and it's in the commercial district. Somebody decides to put up a sign on that. The way that, if you adopt this language, John is correct, that you could put up a sign that's 1 foot wide by 96 feet tall, assuming you had 4 or 5 businesses in the area. Now, that's absurd, but you could have a sign that's 8 feet wide and 12 feet tall.
Just take out the word wall.
well, and I think maybe a good way to.
74% of the height of the building. Take the word wall out.
Or the peak of the roof.
Or,
The
Building.
Highest point of the, yeah.
Building.
The building, I like that simple.
You mean on 3410?
3, whatever that was. I'm looking at the village district, so it may be slightly different.
Yeah, it was in village and in commercial.
No part of any sign attached to a wall.
Or a building,
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
where also.
So you're gonna say the height of the building
Go
is
to
the peak of the
34,
roof?
341022.
So you're gonna say the height of the building is the peak of the roof, is that correct?
Yes.
ridge line, highest ridge line.
Well, just put the highest ridge line then.
Part-
Just to be
The
clear.
end of 341022. If attached to a building, the top of the sign shall be no more than 75% of the height of the, take out the word wall, building. Whoever typed this up obviously didn't make it the same everywhere.
I wonder who did that?
This was not Neil.
No, it
Nope.
was not Neil.
It was not Neil. Somebody sitting beside Chip.
She did not.
You say, don't look at me.
I was trying to accept the blame without saying my name, jeez.
So that needs to be changed on 1023 also, 341023 also.
Didn't look wherever it was, everywhere it was, I just,
So we're taking out the word wall, correct?
I think that would certainly limit the,
So no part of any sign attached to a building shall be higher than 75% of the height of the building?
yes.
You can still have your 96 square feet and just make it shorter, just wider.
Right.
So that's
Now this is the industrial?
34, well, we gonna apply
Oh, no,
that
that's-
to all zones then? So we're gonna do village, we're gonna do residential, commercial, and industrial?
Right now, it's just in village, right? In
Well, village
two,
has,
three.
Village,
341022 makes reference to the building wall.
1023 does.
We've eliminated that wall.
Yep, so 1023 also, so we scratch that.
Yeah, 341034 has it also.
Yes, 3-4.
What about the R and RA district for the, cover the farmer's porch roof sign?
I don't think we did that in RA, did we?
No, we did not. Was that an oversight on our part, or was that intentional? I don't remember.
What?
That we didn't do the 75% of the roof in residential and
I
rural ag?
think it was intentional.
Because residential, you're only allowed to have 6 square feet of sign,
Right,
Proposed 8, but yeah, okay.
and in RA, it's,
same.
same.
Well, what if you did it on farmer's porch roof?
We still put it on farmer's porch, right?
Yeah, but if you put a 6 square foot sign on a farmer's porch, how much is it gonna take up? I mean,
If they have a really short business name.
Well, typically in your residential rural, in rural, you're set back enough, you're not gonna see much of it on a farmer's porch either.
Yeah.
So I see it in 10.2.2, 10.2.3, 10.3.4.
And I've made those changes.
So 10.3.4 is gonna read something, that sentence is gonna be more like, no part of a sign attached to a building shall be higher than 75% of the height of the building?
Yes,
Okay,
and that's what they all say.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got a better typist, that's why he's secretary.
You mean when I get them done?
But I don't think that concludes Neil's issues with 3492.
No, I was trying to figure out where I left off.
So are we agreed then that for 3492, we will use the language in quotes?
Your proposed language?
Right, deleting the farmer's porch. And that,
Well, just so everybody in TV land hears, we're not deleting a sign on the farmer's porch,
no, we're
we're
expanding.
expanding the size of a sign on the farmer's porch,
That's correct.
or possibly. Okay.
So the stuff in bold we keep it in, or is that not being used in Neil's common practice?
Bold is struck out.
Right. This will, the only thing we're taking out in Neil's common practice is the last line.
Yes, after building it, period.
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Where are you?
And
On 3.92, what you have written in
Yes,
quote,
you're
what you have written in
correct.
quotes, the bold gets crossed out,
And the last,
and the last line, and which has lower pitch, gets crossed out.
correct,
Gotcha.
And scratching so-called in front of farmer's
yeah.
porch.
right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm okay
Yes.
with the proposed change. Neil's version, I should say.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody else? I wanna put signs and utility poles. No, okay, I changed my mind.
I hope you don't, because I
No.
think it violates state law.
It does. I was gonna say, I don't even know if we need to have that, 'cause
Yeah.
that's against the law anyway.
Everybody does it.
I know, they put the plates up there saying they got a yard sale and all that stuff.
Yeah. We buy houses.
But by putting it in here, number one, you reinforce it, and you put all of the information in the same place.
Yep, yep.
And number two, then Chip has the opportunity to enforce this, whereas if it's not in here and it's state law, then presumably you go to the Attorney General or somebody in the state.
Including the town signs that are road signs mounted on telephone poles.
Yeah, I could think of at least one
Yeah.
near where I live.
They're all over the place. But people do a good job of stealing them, so there's nothing left but the bracket coming out of the
Well,
pole.
then
They're
it's
trying
not a
to move them
sign.
off.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but then it's not a sign, it's just a bracket.
Yeah,
Re-
brackets
remember
are
that
allowed.
The definition of sign, as we've approved it now because of the Reed case, excludes a road sign is not a sign for purposes of this ordinance. If the town puts up a sign, or the feds put up a sign, they're not signs. Whatever else they are, they're not signs.
But what are they, Neil?
I have no idea.
All right, so are we on 3495 now then?
I believe so. I don't think I'm gonna change 9.4.
3495 internally lit.
Okay. I think that the way to write this more understandably and workably in the ordinance is not to put it here, but to take it out of here, and as I suggest, put it in the various articles, which you already do, and then precede that language by the words notwithstanding these articles. Because it's cumbersome to have the same thing in two places. It looks as though I don't know, from a drafting point of view, it didn't make sense. Because what we're saying is, in 3495, we're banning certain things. And then in the other articles, we're saying, notwithstanding that ban, we're allowing it in the two zones.
So why not just ban it in the other zones instead, and just not mention the others? It's less wordy.
So, say that again?
So we're allowing it in commercial and industrial. That leaves rural and rural ag, correct? And village, excuse me. So why not say internally lit signs, blah, 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 are prohibited in village, rural ag, and residential?
Period.
That certainly is a better way to do that, then you'd have to eliminate those two other articles. Well,
No.
I'd have to read it again to think if that's a good idea, I'm not sure. But your approach is certainly,
I like that approach.
You're saying word prohibited instead of exempting.
You gotta save something for next week.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Chuck and I are getting up early, but
Oh, yeah, that's right, you guys are gonna get up early and go work out, so you're gonna,
Well, we may not get out of here in time.
are there any others besides village, residential, and residential agricultural? Besides commercial, there are only 5 zones, right? 5 districts.
Yeah, so commercial and industrial are the only two that we
So-
propose allowing internally lit signs.
But you're saying all internally, the problem is, of course, that you don't allow, in your proposal, you don't allow electronic message or sign. 10.2. Thirty-four, 10.3.2, 34, 10.4.2, 34, 10.4.2. If we make your change, John, you're making a very substantial expansion from what the subcommittee proposed, because, as I understand it, the only thing that you're proposing to allow in the industrial district is a 16 square foot changeable letter sign. You are not proposing to allow changing message, electronic moving, etc.
No, if we do what I just thought of, is we would actually have to put in verbiage to state that you're allowed to have a internally lit sign, and
Where does it say internally lit?
so that's the problem, it doesn't say anywhere else other than in this, in 3495, where it says it is allowed. That's the only location that says that internally lit signs would be allowed in commercial or industrial, so we would need to add.
Yes, you're correct. That's right. That's what I say. The language should be removed from this article and placed in the mentioned articles. And I think that's probably better, because you're not allowing all kinds of lighting, only certain kinds of lighting, internally lit. So let's see what I proposed.
so we aren't gonna allow stationary letter signs in the industrial district?
Say that again?
So now we're not gonna allow stationary letter signs in the industrial district?
Well, we are. We're just trying to
Okay.
make the language work.
Okay, so you're not, okay, back up a little, because I was looking at some other crap. You're gonna leave 3495 pretty much as written? You're-
No, we were discussing an option.
Okay,
I did not do it. I just suggested that the better way to do it, but I didn't
Yes.
provide that language, and I think if you agree with me, then I will get that language.
What do you do on 10.3.2? Add in addition, there would be 16 square feet of internally lit changeable letter sign mounted on the
10.3.2,
Well, if we eliminate if we modify 3495, we would have to come up with new verbiage for
And it's,
for 1032 and 1042.
right, and I can
Which
do,
does not currently exist.
The only thing you're really adding those is internally lit thing, right?
That's it. We're only allowing internally lit. We're not allowing electronic, we're not allowing animation,
correct.
electronic moving, or any of that stuff.
So you go one freestanding, internally lit primary sign.
And the stationary letter sign is not the full size of the sign, but it's limited
It's
to
limited to square feet,
16
right.
square
Right.
feet
There's a
below.
there's a problem. If we do what I suggest, then that would open up the door for having the animated changing.
That's
that.
correct, which is why,
Yeah.
so if you're okay with it, I'll come back with the language to take it out of here and put the whole thing, internally lit, stationary letter, in each of those two sections. And it will be preceded by notwithstanding 3495, you can do it in the industrial and the commercial zones.
That works for me, because we had trouble with that when we were,
Yeah, yep. We'll see it next, you'll have it for us for next week?
I will not be here on the 17th, but I will have the language.
oh, we'll just approve of this whole thing then.
Oh, cool.
It will be done.
Yeah.
So you'll email us between now and then?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on to 3496 then, I assume?
I made some sort of a grammatical change under open signs.
We're still on 3495?
3495 after the NK section where it says open signs,
Oh, you took out the
I took out the S.
indicates.
Right.
Took out the S.
So now we're on to 3496. Yeah, and I also suggested this section should be renumbered.
I think we're having a lot of renumbering there.
Well, that makes sense.
Why would that open signs be where it is at all anyway?
Yeah, why is it in
It
prohibited sign?
shouldn't be there.
No, it shouldn't.
So that's why I suggest it should be
Yes.
removed, and I'll put it where it's supposed, where I think it should be, and I'll renumber it
Some-
in some way.
Yeah.
Okay. 3496. Since you've agreed to do the notwithstanding stuff in Articles 3495 and 96, you don't need this language here. This is just belt and suspenders, belt and suspenders, belt and suspenders. But it really isn't necessary. Because those articles say except, notwithstanding.
So you're gonna say notwithstanding 34.9?
No. We have a specific exception that says, that will say, notwithstanding Articles 3495 and Article 3496.
Okay.
And then we go ahead and describe the stuff in
Okay.
industrial, so that this is not necessary. Now, the way this reads now,
Okay.
there is, am I correct, there's no limit on the number of these signs?
Number of what sign?
Message board signs, I'm on 3496.
Well, it's prohibited, not allowed. We're still on prohibited, aren't we?
Yes,
Yes.
anything 34.9 is prohibited.
Where's,
So So,
but we allow these signs, where does it,
in commercial and,
no, we allow them
No.
anywhere.
Is there no official break?
Hold on, please.
Yeah, that shouldn't be there at all.
No, here's what it says. We exclude message board signs with movable letters. And then there's a further exclusion, in other words,
Oh, yeah.
allowing such signs that are portable, that do not exceed 6 square feet on each of 2 sides. That's what we say now.
Yep.
And I'm raising the question, second sentence, as to the basic article, shouldn't this type of sign be limited to 1? And you see my suggested language.
Seems, maybe in commercial, industrial benches, that more than one might be allowed, no?
I'm raising the issue. You can leave it as it is, or you can make a change.
I like it the way it is.
Yes? Okay, keep it as it is.
I didn't hear anybody else say anything.
I'm still thinking.
I just thought I'd be the first one to say something.
Would you want these signs all to be allowed in commercial and industrial districts in addition to the 16 square foot message board signs that are allowed?
6 square.
16. No, in the
16,
commercial,
16
in
permanent.
the commercial and industrial section, there, it's 16 square feet underneath the basic sign.
If I was gonna limit it, it'd be per business, but then we're gonna get into that whole business activity discussion again.
Not under Reed.
Right. Oh,
Well, you just change it to do like you did before, just make it apply, just apply it towards the RA, R, and village. Because the commercial industrial, allow them separately, right?
That's correct.
yeah, but I think we need to, if you're gonna limit them, I don't know. I think the village district should certainly be able to have those movable letter signs.
That's currently the case, they have
Yes.
them.
Yes, they have them. I don't think we should take them away.
That's not the
No.
proposal.
Oh,
But take
I
out
thought
the
that
black,
was it.
except as provided in Articles
no.
3.2, and just put,
You don't need to put anything. Well, what
yeah,
would you put?
that it applies to RA, R, and village.
That's limiting, isn't it?
No, that's so you would just say, instead of the bolded language, you would put in the village RA and residential districts.
Right.
Make sure you add residential manufactured housing or something like that. There's another zone. Believe it or not.
Because the two commercial and industrial
Wherever it is.
work, specify those different sizes and everything else anyway.
Yep.
Not the 6 square feet.
Yes, there's also a residential manufactured housing district.
Do we have one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's one over there.
Okay, then,
Two.
Oh, okay.
then
Oh, sorry.
Bruce's proposal is to have 3496 read, this is prohibited. Message board signs with movable letters, excluding such signs that are portable and that do not exceed 6 square feet on each of 2 sides in the residential RA, village, and residential manufactured housing district.
So commercial,
which would mean
so commercial doesn't get them?
the
No, they're allowed
the
in the
commercial
commercial-
has,
under
the
the
commercial
commercial
has
zone.
16 square feet.
They're not the
But
six.
they don't get a message board.
Bruce's suggestion is they don't get the portable message board, they have the stationary message.
I don't like that.
You wanna keep it as it is? Okay,
I don't have a problem with taking it out of the industrial district. I don't think,
that's what he did.
Then
That's-
why-
I don't want to take it out of the commercial district.
I'm gonna leave it in industrial.
Where our industrial district is, I don't think it matters personally, but,
It doesn't really, no one
you
does
know,
them.
B and B and
Yeah.
But
Colby
there are
Road.
other industrial areas.
Yeah, the one way up 114, I forgot about that, towards Henniger.
Let's just leave it as it is.
Yeah, I think leave it.
We'll delete the bolded language but not add anything else.
Yes.
So I don't know why you have to have that except as provided in Articles 3, 2.
We're taking that out.
It's gone.
Okay.
Covered us. Okay. 3497.
I got outvoted in this one at the subcommittee level.
Well, you may have more luck here.
I might. I doubt it.
What's happening
I
here?
kind of got talked into it too.
What's the purpose?
Signs like Fox Hollow and Brookshire, personally don't like them because I think that,
The non-durable materials.
well, Brookshire's not, but Fox Hollow is, for one thing.
From a public safety standpoint, I think having the idea of identifying subdivisions is a great landmark. I use them substantially in other towns.
No, if they were cut into a piece of granite that was on.
Oh, no, if it's,
up the
I
side of
agree,
the
it
road.
needs to be a durable material, but Craig's reservation, he didn't like it at all.
I
regardless of
don't
what
like
was
it.
made.
I live in Weare, I don't live in Brookshire. You're so uppity, you live in, well, never mind. It reminds me of other
From a
towns.
public safety standpoint, having that as an additional landmark is a huge benefit.
No, I agree with you, John.
Do EMT people in Ware really think about Brookshire?
No, people.
Or do they think about Eleanor Road?
Dispatch will. Dispatch could. If you're driving down the road in Bedford, Wallace Road, there's a subdevelopment. You don't know what road you're on, but you're passing Brookshire Estates. Dispatch will know exactly where that is. You don't know what road you're on, but you pass Brookshire Estates. I don't know if there is one on Wallace Road, but from a public safety standpoint, that's a huge bonus.
I have no problem with this, with the bolt, I mean, the bolt, like with the bolt part, that puts on the planning board, someone has to know the design for the sign.
That's what, I went along with whenever we approved it, I went along with it. Because it's gonna be part of the subdivision application, obviously.
Right,
And it has to be a durable material, so.
Yeah, granite fault.
Yeah, but if you want stone, you better put it in there, because people are going to have very different definitions of what's durable. And
Yep,
the
plastic.
planning board, when, you know,
Plastic's durable, is it not?
Yep.
yes,
So,
you want a plastic sign?
it looks good, why not? If they wanna pay for it, it's, again, for me, it's a public safety issue, and I want the identification there. Craig wanted the ability to yay or nay the material, so that's why we all agreed to have it come before the planning board for approval.
If it's such an important feature, why not require it as part of the subdivision regulation? No,
No,
I'm gonna smack them.
if it's a public safety feature, why is it optional?
Because nobody in the town's brought it up, I guess, I don't know.
I think you're increasing you're putting an optional cost on the developer.
I think you're adding.
We do all sorts of optional
I think
costs.
you're.
On top of.
I think you're adding
yeah.
more ugly signs, Neil. I can't believe you're saying this.
Well, I'm trying to,
I know,
I
I
agree with
understand.
you that these are generally ugly, the names
Detractive,
are,
yeah, they're not attractive at least.
and, I'd best, in Ware, I'd rather forget the fact that it's called Brookshire, I'd rather think of it as Eleanor Way. But I didn't think of it at all from a public safety point of view. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
explore that issue. I agree with you, Craig. They are
Well,
ugly.
if somebody builds a subdivision or another Fox Hollow, but if they don't name it, then then they're not gonna put up a sign. If we require them to put up a development name sign, that means they have to come up with a development name.
Most subdivisions
They
are gonna
all
have,
have
if they're gonna have, if you're gonna build a
names.
road, you're gonna have a name.
Okay,
99% of them.
And why isn't it in Fox Hollow, isn't there a road there called Fox Hollow?
Fox Hollow Drive,
Right,
probably, yeah.
and on Holly Hills, isn't there a road that says Holly Hills?
Yeah.
So, why do we need signs?
Is it Duck Pond Road?
There is a Duck Pond Road.
It is Duck Pond Road. Okay, I don't know, I was asking that.
Well, it's, the road
No.
going, the road going into the development has no name. The road going by the post office is called Duck Pond Road.
Okay, so Duck Pond Road is not at the development.
That is
Duck
correct.
Pond- Duck Pond Road is not in Duck Pond Estates, no.
Okay, so that would be a good argument to have a Duck Pond Estates sign.
Why? Have Mallard Road.
What good's that gonna do?
You're not gonna forget it.
Quacker Street.
I was just gonna say that, Quacker Street.
Now, this was my argument, from a public safety standpoint, I think it's a good idea to have development signs available if they choose to put them up. If
What-
they choose.
Would
Why
that be
don't
true
you
in a
seek
town, more
wisdom
true
from
in a
the
town
fire
like
chief
Bedford
on
than
that
it would be
and end the
Weare?
conversation?
I think it's true anywhere.
I think it's true anyways.
I think we did.
Personally, I think they should be,
Did we get comment from fire on that? I thought we did.
We did not get an official comment, no.
personally,
Because I
they should
think
be
at the
law.
time, when I had inquired of a fire personnel, they were going through a 911 remapping, and they didn't wanna muddy the waters.
I have a question about Brookshire. Doesn't
I
Brookshire,
don't even know where that is, to be
Well-
honest with you.
as you come into Ware from Goffstown,
okay.
it's the first one on your right.
Big granite sign, marking right, they're right
Yeah,
I'm
there.
never on that end of town yet.
And this sign is built into a wall. How high is that sign off the ground?
3 feet, maybe? 4?
It's very attractive because it's in granite or in stone,
Okay.
but I think it's probably covered in the winter.
Well,
It
snowbank
is.
heights.
Oh, yeah.
It is, you cannot see that sign, that's what
No.
I was raising my hand for. So if you're gonna have a sign, either illuminate it, make sure it's clear, or raise it, because you never see it with snow. Last year, you never saw that sign.
For some of us, that was a blessing.
It's a very pretty sign.
But it is a very pretty sign,
And
you're
Elmer
right.
Way, you don't recognize, everybody knows Brookshire.
But if the Brookshire sign wasn't there, everybody'd know the Elder Way sign more. That was my point.
Tomato, tomato.
Right.
I mean, personally, I think we should just take out the durable material and make them be granite if they're gonna have a subdivision sign. Something's gonna last 50 years, not just
Well,
20
is
years.
there other material that can be used in substitute granite?
Marble,
A lot of money.
brick,
Stone, or
What's that stuff that they need, the signs that are beautiful?
hard surface material?
no.
No, what do they call that? Hardscaping material, hardscape material?
No. Now I know what you mean.
I think limiting it to granite would, I think I'd just rather have it durable material, and then you could put something, we can make that
How
recommendation.
about durable natural? Or is that too limiting?
No, if it's brick or something, brick
Yeah.
isn't natural.
That's true.
Routed southern yellow pine.
Yeah. Okay, we can.
Durable.
Pressure treated.
Subject to the planning board approval anyway, so we can explain that durable material isn't something that lasts 20 years, it's something that lasts 50 years or more.
Non-plastic.
I guess we're okay with that, huh?
I'm not. I think it's the uglification. But
Thank you.
You could put some
I agree.
flamingos
I
in
could
front
have you
of
go
it.
with me at 3 in the morning in Pembroke, 3 in the morning trying to find a place that, when you're half asleep.
What do you think, Chuck?
But I think Dave,
I'm okay with it.
I don't think at this time of day, anytime, man.
Like the whatever, I don't even know the name of the subdivision. There's that North Country Woods or something like that in Dunbarton on 77.
Northwoods Road, yep.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know the name of the road because the other sign, I always see the other sign. I have no idea what the road name is.
That's another good point. Your road sign's only this big, letters this tall.
That's 911, and that's not anything to do with us.
Exactly. That's just something else to make it a lot easier for passerby. They can recognize
Well,
where they're at.
if the North Country, whatever it says in that big granite thing wasn't there,
Woods.
I would
Exactly.
probably know, I would probably see the street sign,
Exactly.
is my point. Same as if the Brookshire sign wasn't there, you'd probably see the Eleanor Way sign. Maybe,
I'm not changing my mind on it.
I know. I got outvoted once.
I'm with you on this one, Craig.
I think this, whoever's doing the subdivider ought to be able to put up a sign that identifies the development of the,
You talk about a permanent sign.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem, like, well, okay. Permanent, yes.
Approved by the planning board.
Right.
You can make it any damn thing you want.
I don't know if we can.
If you own the typewriter, you write the
We
rule.
can't, according to Neil, we can't regulate content.
We can't tell them what to put on the sign.
Can we tell them
We
it
can
can't,
tell them the sign must be made of X material,
Durable
Y
material,
material.
yeah. But we can't tell them what goes on there.
so they can make a stone sign that says such and such estates and paint it pink, and we can't say anything about it?
Sure you could.
No,
Okay.
you can't change, you can't tell them what letters they can put on there. You can tell them what color it can be though.
Okay.
I mean, it says identifying residential development, so it's gonna have a development name on it, it's gonna have.
Or it could have an asterisk or
Logo.
or a symbol or
And a lot of people move to the country so that they're not living in a development.
But they don't have
No.
to buy in there, no one's forced
Now,
them to
that's
buy in.
changing though.
Well, that's changing.
With
Yeah, I
the-
know, they're all
everybody-
coming.
Yep.
They don't wanna live on cul-de-sacs.
You're right.
Well, we need a train station, it'll look like New Jersey.
We should legislate that. All developments will be cul-de-sac.
Oh, God.
So where are we with 3497 then?
Rick, what do you think?
I have to agree with Bruce. I wanna leave it up to the option, I don't wanna make it mandatory, but I want it to be of solid material, not plastic.
So Chuck, you're the tiebreaker. Ye who doesn't think at night. Oh, you said that.
I have no
Just for the
problem-
record, he said it
I have
first.
no problem with the suggested language, with the planning board approval.
Okay, it's in.
It's twice, Neil.
So 341012 is next?
What is next?
341012, R and RA districts where we had an issue with independently owned and then the height of the sign.
Yeah, but Neil's gonna have a problem with business activity without the independently owned. And so is a lot, so other people might too.
But we never did come up with a definition of what independently owned means. Not
But
a
we
def-
don't know what business activity is
We
either.
don't know what business activity is, right?
Let's assume that we have a husband and wife in a single-family house in a residential district, okay? She's an accountant, and he's a
Carpenter.
carpenter. With or without the independently owned language there, aren't they entitled to two signs?
I would think so.
Okay, now let's assume
No, why would you assume that?
there are two separate, to
They're
me,
two separate entities.
obvious,
Two business
Different
activities.
Business
you-
and, and carpenter and CPA don't go together.
Yeah, so you get your own.
How do you know they're independently owned? Owned.
Again, that goes back to what is the definition of independently owned?
I would think if a husband and wife owns one business and a husband and wife owns the other business, they're not independently owned.
How do you know it's husband on one and wife on the other?
How do you know it's not?
You don't.
presumably they come in for, do they have to come in for site plan review? For
Mm,
home business?
No.
Not really.
I mean, if you call it business activity, that,
If it's business activity, let's assume the husband is a carpenter and a plumber, and the wife is an accountant and a lawyer. They can only have 2 signs.
One sign says accountant, the other side says lawyer, the other one side says plumber, the other side says, depends which way you're driving.
They could do that. Is that 6 square feet per side? Yeah, right?
Right, yep.
We probably ought to make that clear, but, oh, no more than 2 surfaces, each surface can contain no more than 6, yeah, we got it already. Why don't we solve this problem by simply saying you can't have more than 2 per lot? Solves the read problem, because we're not talking about business activity, which could be
Not
considered,
obstruct the view of traffic.
which could be considered,
That's, don't go
substantive.
there.
So what happened if it said, 1 sign,
Then everybody gets 2 signs,
yeah,
even if you have one business.
yes,
Why not just say 1 sign per lot? Regardless how many businesses are on that residential lot.
let's do it.
That's just a thought.
Let's do what?
Put a period after the word lot in the second sentence. And leave the rest of the not the second, the second line. 1 sign to contain no more than 2 surfaces, each surface contain no more than 6 square feet shall be allowed on any one lot, period. If freestanding, the height of such sign shall not exceed.
So we're trying to make this more business friendly, and we just eliminated a sign
Yeah.
in a residential district. I mean, that was one of the purposes here, of the subcommittee,
The only purpose, what?
pretty much.
Do you want to allow 2 per lot in a residential district? Is that what you really want? Now, these are not large signs, well,
6 square feet,
No,
2 by 3.
2 by 3.
Size of a real estate sign essentially.
Apartment complex.
I'd go along with
8
that,
feet
but I
high.
really have a problem with going to 8
That's
feet.
still 1 lot.
Well, that goes back to the snowbank issue. That's why I went up to 8.
I understand that, but these are signs that in 8 months of the year, or
I
maybe
retract.
in your year, 12
Question.
months of the year.
I retract my suggestion.
Question,
Ricky brought up a good idea, or a good point.
in a residential or an RA, a duplex,
Still
Yeah.
1 lot.
it's still 1 lot, 2 houses, 2 independent families, you're gonna limit them to 1 sign?
I don't,
One lot?
I think we're over that. We're into 2 signs again.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Now, but you're in that district, and you're limiting, you're trying to limit it to 1 sign, or we're attempting to. And it's a duplex, it's 2 different families, not like a husband and wife.
What do you think then, if we go to 2 signs, what about keeping the height at 6 feet?
well, first of all, we aren't going to 2 signs. We already had 2 signs.
No. But what he's saying is that you're going to have 2 signs as of right. Regardless of how many business activities,
Yeah,
you're gonna have 2 signs. So if you
potentially
have-
2 signs.
If you have 1 plumbing business, you can have 2 signs. Great if you have a corner lot, one on each road.
Well,
Well, no, not necessarily, no,
How do we
no.
get to
This is the
automatically 2
existing, it's
signs?
1
We're not-
Yeah.
I thought that's what you said.
No, I'm saying that if it's in the R or the RA district, and it's a duplex house, you have 2 separate families, not related at all. One guy's
But no
a
more
self-made
than 2.
carpenter, the other guy's a self-made computer guy.
1 sign for each business
They
activity.
each need to have a sign each, you can't put them on 1 sign, but if you say they have 2 signs, now there's potential of 4 signs on that lot. Because you're giving 2 signs to the carpenter and 2 signs to the computer guy.
No, we're giving 2 signs to the lot, period.
Why don't we leave it the way it is and have 1 sign per business activity, and if it's a big issue, we'll,
Because I think this is, once you identify the activity, I think you're getting into the, I don't understand.
into the read thing?
Yeah, I don't understand it well enough.
So why not just say business activity, why can't we just have business? Because a business activity is
I
I
think that,
could be
that's a real
Yeah.
no-no.
small repair versus,
I don't think you
I
can
like that.
define the activity. You can define the real estate that gets the sign. I don't think you can define the activity on the real estate. That gets into the way the Reed people thought about it, I think, free speech issue.
okay.
If we go to 2 signs per lot in the residential and RA district, would you agree to keep the height at 6 feet?
Why are we lowering it? Or why are we reverting it back to the 6?
Well, I'm proposing that because I think an 8-foot sign in a residential district is frankly too in your face. And I understand that in winter, you know, you might want to have it a little higher, I got that. But most of the year, there's no snow on the ground, 8-9 months. And it's just incompatible with what most of us think goes on in these districts, which is housing, not business. I understand we're allowing home businesses, and we're encouraging those, but I just think 8 feet is really high.
Okay, can I propose a compromise? 6 feet from the height of the crown of the road?
Well, 6 feet from the ground because of the district, which is what it is now.
Yeah, and the reason I brought this up is because there are signs that were buried under snowbanks this past year because of how much snow we had, and it wasn't a record year. It just all happened at once, that's the problem.
Boston thought it was a record year.
I'm sure they did, but it wasn't here, but. Six feet from the ground level to the top of the sign. That's all well and good if your ground is level with the road. If you go from your road and your property is downhill from the road, now you're with the setback from a class 5 road, you can put the sign how far back?
You can't have it on
25 feet from the center line.
25 feet from the center line, okay.
Where does it say that?
There's no front setback for a sign
So where did the 25 feet come from?
from the center line of the road.
No, I understand what you said. In the statute, in the ordinance, where does it say 25 feet?
Has to be on your property.
It has to be on your property. I'm just saying,
Well,
road, I'm assuming the road's 50 feet wide when I said 25.
It is.
Well,
That's
there's
all.
many roads are
Older roads are variable.
16, not
Yeah.
16, they're 2
30.
rods, 3 rods.
Yeah, 33, 49 and a half.
And
Yep.
in some cases, the road literally, like on Hodgson Road, the road is, and the house abut, or the
Yep.
barn abut.
Yep.
The reason why I wanted this, my neighbor lives across the street. His property drops down 4 feet from the edge of the road, almost within 4 feet. It's a 45-degree drop. If he was to go 6 feet up, that means his sign is at snowbank level, if not buried.
So he buys a couple loads of fill.
Or a shovel.
Yeah,
How about, why don't we,
but that's an artificial ground.
Creative.
Doesn't say natural.
No, it doesn't.
if we keep it at 6 feet, but allow the planning board in exceptional cases, such as the one that you mentioned, to allow a higher height, would that work?
Now you require a sidewalk and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you're removing the authority to issue the sign
Back to us
permit
again.
back to you again.
In these particular cases.
We're probably 6 feet from the center line of the road.
That's what I suggested.
That's what you suggested.
Because that would, I mean,
That way it keeps on even plane, and now you're not gonna have 6-foot snowbanks on the side of the road. God, I hope not. But
If you do
that
it
could
awful
mean,
long,
that could mean
Yeah.
the sign could be 10 feet above ground level in your neighbor's case.
it's only gonna appear 6 feet above ground level when you're driving by.
if you put on a artificial berm, then it's gonna be,
Same height.
But artificial berm isn't ground level, is it?
I just asked that, but
If you take a load of fill and dump it over off the side of the road and raise the ground up, you
it's artificial at that point.
But
doesn't say natural
Doesn't say
ground.
raise the ground level up.
Yeah.
Still ground.
Then there's no problem.
Chip's in charge, ask him what do
With
you
your
think about
neighbor.
that.
For this
You need
particular
to chime in here,
yes.
Chip.
Until the green.
We dump some,
Raise the
we dump a
sign.
load of rock in there.
Bring it up, bring it up. You know, we don't wanna place undue burden on the developers. Why do we place undue burdens on the homeowners to have to backfill the lot instead of just adding 2 more feet of wood to the signpost? Because you're still looking at it at the same elevation from the road.
Off a tree.
Yeah, yeah, as you say.
If you've
Well,
got
it
a six,
depends.
You know,
if you've got a 6-foot height, and you're 12 feet down in the hole,
But
you should be able to plant an 18-foot.
Well, okay, how about the opposite case where you got a bank and the guy's property's 4 feet above the road? Now all of a sudden the sign can be
12 feet.
Yeah.
so high you can't see it.
Yeah,
Well, all you're doing is you're setting the max height, you're not saying how low you can set it.
Right.
And that's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's 6 feet up, you're not gonna see it.
No, that's-
I mean, the object is to be able to see it when you're driving by.
Yeah, that's up there.
6 feet off the center line of the road is like, you're gonna see it.
There's your compromise, 6 feet from center line of the road instead of 8 from ground.
I'd settle for either the 8 or the 6 feet from the center line.
It's just a little sign.
I'm trying to keep the residential areas residential and allow the commercial use of those by homeowners. I think you're going too far here, but if you guys,
For 2 feet though?
put it on the
I'm trying to
mailbox.
keep the town residential sections residential. And I think the commercial activity needs to be compatible with the residential nature of the district, that's all. And we have a difference of opinion as
Yeah.
how to do that.
We'll have to agree to disagree on this one, I think.
So,
So what's the proposal?
I have no clue.
Instead of like 6 feet from the ground level, they're 6 feet from the center line of the road.
Keep it the way it is with that one change? Is that what you're proposing? Independently owned out?
Yes.
I kinda like 6 feet from the center line of the road better than the 8 feet arbitrary number.
I think the 8 foot would be easier to enforce.
You know,
You had to take it up there and there it is.
I put them on the round to it list.
Well, if I put up a sign on my driveway,
Bruce will let you use his pop level.
Yeah.
For me, then doing the 6 feet from the center line,
I use my engineer scale,
That works too.
measure it in tenths.
That's what was averted.
I think I agree with 6 feet from the center line of the road.
And I don't.
You don't? What do you want, 8?
20
6.
feet, 8 feet period. Because, and I'll just use an example, up on Concord Stage, across from the East Weare Fire Station, Brian Cook's house. If you wanted to put a sign in the dip where that barn used to be, the silage barn used to be, he'd have it up on 20-foot staples, but he'd be 6 feet above the center line of the road. Now, to me, that would look terrible, right? On the same stretch of road, to go with what you said, where the old Sugar Hill Speedway sign is, that's what, 8 feet above grade, but it's right on the ground.
Yep.
I'd rather see it 8 feet done and over with than 6 feet above the center line, only because of instances like that.
Of course, if there was somebody, a business in that dip, so they'd have the driveway filled in, going off to whatever side you wanted to go off on,
You'd want it higher,
then you'd want the sign to be 8 feet above the center line. You wouldn't want it down the hole where nobody's gonna see it,
or 6 feet above the center line.
whichever.
Yeah, if they got a huge hole like that, typically they're gonna put it right next to the driveway, which obviously isn't gonna be that
He
low.
kinda did already. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't,
So we don't have an opinion, we don't have a majority here at all?
yeah, I think that 6 feet above the center line makes a lot more sense most of the time. sure there are exceptions.
So Rick's at 8.
8 period.
Where's Bruce?
Center line,
6 in center line or 8 in center line?
6.
6 in, Neil's 6 in ground.
Well, to make up the majority, I'll go with 6 on the road.
And you're 6 in the road. Okay, we're 4, 6 in the road.
Now what about the rest of it? As written, in other words, delete independently owned and keep it, other than that, keep it the same.
I think so, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So 6 feet from the center line?
Yes.
Now, is that to the top of the sign?
Shouldn't be on that.
Or just
Yep.
to the, just to the,
Shall not exceed. That
It
means-
says shall not exceed.
right?
Yes, shall not
No,
exceed.
I'm sorry, I'm talking 6 feet from the center line, not to exceed a certain amount of height from the ground. I'm going back
Oh,
to,
No, just 6
Ooh.
feet from the center line.
Yeah, let's not do
Yeah.
both.
No, but then,
That's very
but
sticky.
you're trying to address
Yeah,
Ricky's
because
situation.
there's a couple other places in town that I'm thinking of that would run into similar issues, where it'd be up on 20-foot sticks to get it 6 feet.
Are you talking undeveloped land, or are you talking developed land?
Developed land that could potentially turn into a business at some point,
You got a driveway that goes across that dip?
they go down the dip.
You know, the driveway, the lot line isn't that far down.
We'll just leave it.
I
It
mean,
can be addressed later if we have to, it's just,
I mean, if they got a choice of putting it on a driveway that's up here or putting it down a dip down here, I'm sure they're gonna put it right next to the driveway.
yeah. It's on the south end of town, I can't think of where it is off the top of my head, but, yeah. Moving on.
So we're talking the same thing for 10-1-3? 6 feet
Yeah.
from center line.
Yes.
I started to change to 34-10-2-2.
What do you mean?
So you put in bold or from the center line elevation of the road.
I did that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jeez.
So now we're down to 34-10-2-2?
No, I'm just noticing that it's there.
Right.
I think it's a good time to stop at 34-10.
Motion table.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll rewrite this as far as we got. And
Hey, we got 2.5 pages almost done.
We got 1 meeting to finish?
2. We're getting there. We're gaining.